Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
Well, the football gods couldn't even give the Cleveland Browns an entire, 2 days to even enjoy what they were able to accomplish and putting to rest an 18-year playoff drought. Now, let me be clear. I think the news that came out earlier today is obviously devastating news, but I don't think that it has ultimately eliminated Cleveland at all. I think it will impact this Sunday's matchup with the Steelers, but we are talking as if the Browns have just been eliminated, and I'm not ready to go there just quite yet. Welcome in, everybody. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on a Tuesday, and we got a jam-packed 3-hour show for you coming your way. A lot to get into. We'll open up with the news that came out earlier today that impacts you Cleveland Browns fans and probably tickles a lot of the Bengals or the Browns haters out there. See, Bengals, same thing. The Browns haters out there. We got a lot coming your way. We're going to open up with that. Former Ravens Super Bowl winning head coach, NFL Network analyst Brian Billick is going to join us coming up here later on in the show as well. We'll talk. We'll have our Paul Keels interview that we did, and then of course we'll be joined live by ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz to talk college football and NFL. And well, for it being early January, there's plenty to discuss today involving those sports. I'll tell you that much. So earlier today it was announced, and again, the Cleveland Browns have had 3 straight weeks of being forced to shut down their facility due to COVID-19 positive tests, and that's where we're at right now at this point. And the Cleveland Browns have had to shut down the facility once again. This time, 6 people have tested positive for the virus. We have Kevin Stefanski, 2 coaches, 2 players, and the list just seems to be getting bigger and bigger as each hour passes on. Now, here's the deal. Kevin Stefanski will not be on the sideline for the Cleveland Browns coming up this Sunday. I do not recall a situation in the NFL that we have seen that this year. We had it happen in college football on multiple fronts. Nick Saban had to miss a game. Almost missed 2 games. He ended up magically testing negative before the big showdown that they had earlier in the year. But Nick Saban had to miss a game. Ryan Day for the Buckeyes had to sit out of a game this year while his team played. We haven't seen that, though, in the NFL. This will be the first time that has happened. And, of course, anytime you can say, it's the first time that any team has had to do that. The Cleveland Browns, of course, on all of the weeks, week 18, it has to be week 18, the first week of the playoffs of which they have missed for 18 straight seasons. They put an end to that drought. Now they will not have their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, heading into Sunday. Now, again, I'm looking at this in a couple of different ways, trying to remain positive. But I think the one thing that is interesting here is when I go back to when it was announced that Ohio State was not going to have Ryan Day on the sideline. Was that Michigan State, Kev?
It was Michigan State. Real quick, it was Lions interim coach Darrell Bevell who missed a game due to COVID. After they fired their coach, he coached the game, and then the very next game he caught COVID, so he wasn't there to coach the second game.
Well, but first significant team to have it, and again, the stage just makes it that much more significant as well. But I remember when it was announced that Urban Meyer was going to be missing Ryan Day. When it was announced that Ryan Day was going to be having to be sidelined for a game after testing positive. I mean, this is nice as possible, but I was like, all right, no big deal. It's Michigan State. All right. Ohio State has talent and depth all over the place, and they have so many smart minds on that coaching staff that they are going to be fine. I don't get all that same warm, fuzzy feeling inside when I hear that Kevin Stefanski is going to miss time or going to miss the game for the Cleveland Browns coming up on Sunday. Now, keep in mind, his thumbprints are going to be all over the game prep for this week. In fact, he is coaching remotely right now and will continue to coach remotely for the week, but he will not be allowed on the sideline Sunday night at Pittsburgh. Now, when you're Cleveland, we've seen this team last year. Remember, everyone's like, "Oh, Kenner, I can't believe you think this team's going to be that much better than last year." I said, "Look, the talent was there a year ago. The problem was coaching." I've been saying that for well over a year now, especially since the day that they fired Freddie Kitchens. Hell, the day that they hired Freddie Kitchens, I was saying that Freddie Kitchens was a mistake. Coaching matters. The Cleveland Browns, they are a night and day different team without Kevin Stefanski. If you look back a year ago, who they were. You look a year, where we are now with Kevin Stefanski, this Browns team is night and day different. The reason I'm not willing to panic necessarily is because although he may not be there for the game day prep, All right. The game prep throughout the week is what's most important. And I think that Kevin Stefanski has surrounded himself with very smart people. And I think that the Browns are going to be okay. The problem is it's the playoffs. You're not playing the Jets. You're not playing who beat the Browns, but that's besides the point. You're not playing a bad team. You are playing a Pittsburgh Steelers team that the Browns need everything to go absolutely right to beat. And right now they're behind the 8 ball a little bit. Missing some key offensive linemen already. I think that's going to be, have an impact on this matchup with the Steelers coming up on Sunday. But as far as the Kevin Stefanski impact of this, Kev, I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm just saying that this isn't the nail in the coffin that everyone keeps trying to present it as being. All day Browns fans have just been singing this sad song of, well, there's always next year. What are you talking about? I know that the Steelers are a tough opponent, but I do believe that you always want your head coach on the sideline, but I don't think it's the end of the world that he's not going to be there on Sunday. I think it's more impactful if you're missing a significant amount of time versus just one game, but the season for the Browns could be over come Sunday.
Yes, I think it's a huge deal to not have Coach Stefanski on the sidelines for the Browns. Not only is he the head coach, but he's a play caller, and he's the guy that's been getting Baker Mayfield in rhythm. Not only Baker Mayfield in rhythm, the entire offense in rhythm. And he's the leader of men in this short time being the head coach of the Browns. So his impact not only on his play calling, which we see evident, every single Saturday, but the things that he does inside the locker room, the speeches, the pep talks he's giving his guys, keeping guys on a business mindset is going to be a big thing missing for the Browns on Sunday's matchup. Obviously, I'm a guy who says, well, we'll see. I'm notorious for saying that, but I think this is a huge deal for the Browns not having their main reason why they are in the position where they are now. I know the players go out there and play the games, but you've been saying it a lot. The talent was there last year. The biggest change is the head coach and everything that the head coach was able to do in a COVID year where he wasn't able to have mini camps, a very short off season, and basically gearing his offense around the run game and being in his bag, calling great plays, setting things up for downfield shots. I think he's a great play caller. I think this is a huge, huge deal for the Browns. And, and honestly, I know this is quote unquote a hot take. I truly believe that they should postpone all the playoff matchups this weekend. Let's just stop with the games, man. Stop. Let's postpone it. Let's go to a bubble and get the playoffs all said and done, because this is completely unfair. This is completely unfair. I said it when it was with the Ravens. I said it when it was the Steelers. I said it with the Broncos. I said it last time with the Browns. And I'm going to say it this time with the Browns. This is unfair to try to have a team go out there and play without their play caller, without their head coach. And I don't care that it's a COVID season. This is unfair. This takes away the total competitive advantage of football. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. This benefits my team the most, but still, it's unfair. I would love to see all these teams just get this whole week off. They do a round of testing. They find a site to go to and get in a bubble and play this thing out and get a fair champion. Let's remove COVID from it like the NBA and the NHL did.
Yeah, my thing is I don't think they're going to do that based on
they're
one
not
significant piece being out. Even as a Browns fan, I'm not even in favor of shutting everything down. Look, I still think, coaches they're not paid to only work 17 weeks throughout the year. They don't just work one day a week. So Kevin Stefanski, his thumbprint's still going to be on the outcome of this game. He's still going to be a part of what they do. I am not a huge fan of shutting it down because Stefanski won't be there on Sunday. Like I said earlier, it's not okay that he's not going to be there Sunday, but I don't think it's the end of the world. To me, I think if situations from throughout the regular season represented themselves in the playoffs, an entire quarterback position being wiped out, an entire offensive line unit being wiped out, a wide receiver, then I would be in favor of having that discussion. But I don't think that a head coach being out, whether it is Bill Belichick, who was knocked out just a couple weeks ago from the playoffs, but and even take the biggest name coach we have in the playoffs right now, Andy Reid. Let's say he has to miss the Super Bowl. I don't think they're postponing the Super Bowl because Andy Reid's going to be out. I just think that it's part of it. If if Tom Brady twists his ankle this week, we're not going to push the game back. All right. If Baker Mayfield, twists his ankle and can't play Sunday, we're not going to push the game back. So Coach Stefanski not being available for Sunday, I don't think you push the game back. But if you had this like widespread outbreak where you had 5 or 6 games all being impacted by it, then I think you readjust. The problem is, and something we'll talk about with Brian Billick coming up, is sometimes though if you push a game back, it impacts not just those 2 teams. It actually impacts the winner of the postponed game more than anything, because they have less time if you push it back to a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And then it impacts the team that is trying to prep. Not only are you given less time to prep for your second-round playoff opponent, your playoff opponent has less time to prep for you because they won't find out who they're playing till later. So there is a domino effect here, but I don't think we're at the point where we have to panic. But it's not a good situation for Cleveland to not have Stefanski by any means. But I don't think it's the end of the world. And for once, it's Kevin getting torched on Facebook, not me. Schultz says, was it unfair to Clemson to not have their offensive coordinator this past week?
If you listen to the show, I said that.
I'm just reading it.
I don't know. I was like, I don't think this is fair. I think all these sports that go into the most important time of the season, playoffs, they should be in bubbles to make sure that everybody gets their best chance to go out there. And I don't think that COVID is as simple as a injury that happens on the field. That's a part of the game. This is a pandemic. And if you're trying to force a season to happen so you can stay on your precious calendar, NFL, then you should do everything in your power to make sure all your teams have the best opportunity to win the most coveted prize in sports, which is the Lombardi Trophy. It's totally unfair to these teams, not only the Browns right now, but all the other teams that had to deal with this stuff all season long. Like, we talk about what Philadelphia did and everything like that. Well, they had COVID issues. The Giants had COVID issues. The Steelers didn't have a bye week. The Broncos went out there without a quarterback. Like, this whole thing is messed up. So, okay, we grill it up and eat it during the regular season. But the most important time, where all the eyeballs are on you, your best time of year. Look at this. This is a great matchup. So we were all super hype about this yesterday. Like, we got 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Like, I'm not leaving the house. And now we get this news. And I pride myself on saying that I'm a fan of the sport more than I am of my team. I just want to see some good games, and I want it to be fair. Like, this is a pandemic, and this is something that if they wanted to make it fair instead of lining their pockets and keeping their precious schedule, they would really consider, because the NHL, and matter of fact, baseball did this. Baseball played their regular season in their regular home stadiums, but in the most important time of the year, they went inside a bubble because they wanted to make sure they got.
It was a whack-ass bubble, too. They put them in a hotel with regular people. That ain't a bubble. the players were taking elevators down to the main lobby with regular civilians.
Me and you?
It was the weirdest thing. Like, everyone, like Trevor Bauer and everyone was just ripping Major League Baseball, saying, "Are you guys kidding? Like, this is your bubble." It was it sounded good, but it wasn't. And anyways, but yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. But David Kendrick on Facebook brings up a good point as well. He says putting a basketball team. And by the way, when I'm reading these, head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. You can type in your opinion in the comment section of the live video feed that we have on Facebook. David says putting a basketball team and its coaches in a bubble is a lot different than putting an NFL team and its coaches and staff in a bubble. I mean, we're talking way more bodies. I mean, we're talking in the hundreds. We're not talking about hundreds when it comes to basketball and hundreds we're talking about hundreds per team. We're not talking about hundreds per team when it comes to basketball and baseball. So no, there's no way they're just going to out of nowhere create a bubble. So it's not going to happen. Here's where I disagree. In 457-9464, we have a Steelers fan saying it's unfair for the Browns to have to play come Sunday without their head coach. You have a Browns fan saying it's not unfair to play without their head coach. The reason, and to go back to Chris's question, was it unfair for Clemson to not have their offensive coordinator? The reason I'm going to say that no, it wasn't unfair is because we spent so much time talking about all the players that opted out of playing during a pandemic. Part of opting in is knowing that you are going to encounter situations like this. So when the offensive coordinator for Clemson opted in, all right, when Ryan Day opted in, when all these players opted in to play, they knew that this was a possibility. That's why I never got so caught up in the, oh man, the Buckeyes, poor Buckeyes, they only played 6 games. It wasn't their fault. They knew what they were getting themselves into when they opted in, knowing that this was a possibility. Now, here they are about to play for a national championship. But again, had they not been allowed to play in the playoffs for only playing 6 games, that's just part of it. You opted in knowing that this was going to be a risk. Same thing in the NFL. Every coach, every player, every coordinator, every referee, every broadcaster, everyone that has opted into continuing to work during a pandemic, you know that you are putting yourself at risk to the elements and to the, again, not really repercussions because it sounds like you're being punished, but to the realization of, hey, if I test positive, here's what's going to happen. I don't think it's unfair that the Browns have to play this Sunday without Kevin Stefanski, because if the roles were reversed and Mike Tomlin tested positive and couldn't coach, I would be saying the same thing. I just don't think any of this, as a whole, everything is unfair right now, but there's no such thing as a level playing field for anybody. I don't think it's fair that Cleveland has gone 3 straight weeks without an official practice with their whole team together. All right. And again, we could be saying the same thing if this was a regular season. And hey, they just had a bunch of injuries. They couldn't stay healthy to head into the playoffs.
Hey, you really think an injury is the same thing as a pandemic?
You're being dramatic.
We're in a pandemic.
Then why the F are we even effing playing?
I've asked that since we started the show.
Also very dramatic. Like, they're fine. Everyone's fine. All right, they're fine. Like, they have these things put in place. You test positive, you don't play. You don't test positive, you play. That's the realization of opting in to play during a pandemic. I just don't think it's that unfair. But I'm curious. 457-9464. Browns fans saying it's not unfair for the Browns to play without a head coach. Steelers fans saying it's not, or I'm saying it is fair. I mean, it's just part of it. I don't know. Just when you opt to play during a pandemic, you are at risk for these types of things. That's all. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. And look, I want Cleveland to be at full strength. I know it impacts Cleveland. I've seen this Cleveland team without Stefanski, what they look like, and I've seen how much of an impact he has made. But I don't think he makes the impact that he has made is overall culture and how this team operates on a day-to-day basis, not just one day out of the week and on Sundays.
Fair enough.
457-9464. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. We'll open up the phone lines. Is it fair? Browns fans, NFL fans, I don't care who your team is. If your team has been impacted by this like the Browns have, is it fair that the Browns are being forced to play without their head coach come Sunday? I think, it's not that I'm saying it's fair, but I'm just saying it's not to the point, in my opinion, where I think we need to talk about pushing the game back. But we'll continue this discussion next. 457-9464. We'll talk when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and breezy, a high near 36. Tonight's also going to be cloudy, a low around 28. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 38. I'm Pete Spyback for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Does it feel like finding clothes in your fit is impossible? Tired of feeling overwhelmed with options that just aren't right? Let the experts at Stitch Fix do the shopping for you. At Stitch Fix, we make sure each piece is hand-selected for your life. So whether you're staying home or on the go, Stitch Fix has the answer for what to wear. We make it easy to find what works for you. Signing up takes just a few minutes, and styles are delivered directly to your door. Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, your style delivered.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get the exclusive 77-inch Husky welded I-beam steel shelving for just $179. It now holds up to 10,000 pounds. Plus, it's the only steel shelving with a full lifetime warranty. Find more Husky steel shelving online at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. Claim based on 2,500 pounds per shelf when evenly distributed. See store for details.
Hindsight is 2020. 2020 was a brutal year with a lot we couldn't control. Pandemic, economy, unemployment. What can we control? Our job, our career. In 2020, My Computer Career helped more people start IT careers than ever. Don't look back with 2020 hindsight next year and see yourself in that 2020 job. Take control. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Menards has what you need to give your bathroom a fresh update. Stop in and view our great selection of toilets from top brands, including American Standard. Replace your toilet with the Titan Tall Elongated Toilet. It has a powerful flush and AquaGuard to reduce condensation. Right now, it's just $209. Save big money now during Menards Project Day sale. Prices are good until January 16th.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm so sick.
Ooh, honey.
Seriously? I'm sick.
Oh, honey, it's time for Dayquil Severe, honey. It's maximum strength cold and flu medicine with soothing, honeylicious taste.
I love you, honey.
And I love you.
I meant the Dayquil.
New Dayquil Severe Honey. The soothing, honeylicious daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, power through your day medicine. Use as directed.
Ooh, a fondue set. Now I need to find a coupon code.
Not anymore, Susan. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout.
Wait, instantly?
It's called shopping smart, not hard. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer for free and let it do the work for you.
Don't mind if I fondue.
That's kind of cheesy. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Whether class is in school, at home, or a little bit of both, school goes on.
So Staples has everything your student needs at amazing prices. From notebooks to sanitizer, pencils to lap desks.
And this week, Staples marbleized comp books, one subject notebooks, and 12-count True Red No. 2 pencils are only 75 cents each.
Shop in-store or pick up curbside.
Restock for school and save big right now at Staples.
Ends 1/9/21. While supplies last. Curbside available in most stores. Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now applying 2 pounds of force for acceleration. You really turning in 0.3 miles and begin a deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles. Base coverage is only. Availability varies.
Staples has everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organizational supplies, and all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start this year with big savings from Staples.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Good luck. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Key Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Playoffs. All right, everybody, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Former Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick, now with the NFL Network, an NFL Network analyst. He will join us coming up here top of the hour, 4 o'clock. We actually caught up with him just a little before the show, but we have that conversation with him. We're going to talk about this current situation we're discussing now. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach for the Cleveland Browns, will be out this Sunday after being one of 4 who tested positive, or at least announced tested positive earlier this afternoon. The Cleveland Browns will be without their head coach come Sunday. And Kevin and I opened up discussing this, and of course, we started talking about, Kevin believes that the NFL should step in and push this game back, or maybe push all games back. I think in the playoffs, Kevin, it's tough. You can't treat each game, you can't isolate every game individually,
right?
Because the wild card round is as a whole. Like, you can't push it. Like in the regular season, you have bye weeks. You can push things back. Monday Night Football, push it back to Tuesday. Or you're supposed to play on Sunday. You can play on. I mean, we saw teams play on Wednesday. They got away with that in the regular season because it was easier to be a little bit flexible. In the playoffs, you can't. You can't have the entire wild card round play except for Steelers and Browns, push them to Wednesday, and then expect the winner of that Wednesday night matchup to have 3 days to prepare for a Sunday matchup. And then you also can't have whichever team is going to be awaiting the winner of the Browns and Steelers. You can't have that team prepping for 3 days without knowing who the hell they're going to play. Now, you can't say they're professionals that can prepare to play both teams. Be that as it may, there's just a lot of trickle down with that. But we started discussing, is it fair for the Browns that the NFL is going to continue to force them to play come up this Sunday. I'm a Browns fan. I want the Browns to get a win. I've talked a lot of smack. That's FCC approved. I've talked a lot. Of course, I want them to win, but I don't believe it's unfair at all to make them play without their head coach. We have seen teams all season have to play without full position groups, including the Browns. We saw the Ravens go through this. The Raiders go through this. I mean, some of these are non-playoff teams, but we saw teams have been impacted by this all season. They all had to play. I think that the Browns should play. We're not talking about an entire offensive line unit being out or even the quarterbacks being out. We're talking about one individual that has the most impact in regards to the guys that are out. I just don't believe that that's the case here. As I mentioned earlier, we talk and spend so much time talking about those who opt out of playing that we forget about what opting into play during a pandemic means. Opting to play during a pandemic means, hey, there's a risk you're going to test positive. And from a business standpoint, there are going to be positive tests. I think, Kev, in my opinion, not saying you're wrong, just in my opinion, it would be an overreaction to move a game back because of a head coach having to miss a game. Just because during a pandemic, that's what happened. In my opinion, it's what happens if you play during a pandemic. We've also seen leagues not overreact as much. Like, think back to a year ago at this point, or I should say a little under a year from this point, back in March. Rudy Gobert tests positive. The entire NBA, March Madness, everything just comes crumbling down. We had no clue what was going on. Now, players are testing positive on a weekly basis, and we find a way to get these games in. That's how the NFL has operated in weeks 1 through 17, and I believe that's how they're going to operate from now until February 11th or 7th or whenever the hell the Super Bowl is. So there you go. So there's that. 457-9464. Do you have a rebuttal before we go to the phones?
It's an argument rebuttal. Let's get to the callers.
All right. We got Doug in Centerville. Doug, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. I guess, Dustin, I agree completely with you. It's just the reality of the 2021 season. We're going to have a pandemic. However, what I am wondering is, could there be, with the technology we have today, that the coach remotely and at least be able to provide input to his coaches?
That was shot down in the college ranks and in the pros. The one thing they have done is and you're right, the technology is awesome, by the way, because they couldn't have done this, decades ago. But now, I mean, they're coaching on iPads. There is a coach walking around the field holding an iPad as Stefanski is being streamed into the practices and being able to, kind of have a view on practice there. So to answer your question, Doug, yes, Stefanski is being streamed into these practices, and that'll be his role for the rest of the week. But that will not be the case on game day.
But same token, that would be a much better option than delaying the game and all of that stuff. And, perhaps you could monitor technology to make sure he's not getting improper feeds or whatever. I just don't understand.
I don't want any technology playing the Steelers. They're a bunch of cheaters. Remember, the Steelers are the same team that had to cheat to beat the Bengals 2 years ago. I mean, this is that same organization. I wouldn't be using I would use as little technology as possible. When was this? The Steelers? Oh, it was the Patriots. Damn it.
See?
Damn it. I got in a roll talking smack. I fumble every time. I got in a roll and got excited to talk smack and it backfired. But either way, the Patriots. But anyways, that's a conversation for later. But still, I don't trust the Steelers. Do we got it in there? He must be a Steelers fan. Doug, you still there? I can hear us in the background.
Yeah, I'm still here. But just a thought, just to give everyone a fair. It is the playoffs, and that's the only reason why I throw that out.
So maybe, because I said during the regular season, everyone continue moving on, maybe changing the expectation because it's the playoffs, maybe being a little bit more flexible to that. I understand what you're saying. I just don't think you're going to see that would be unique though. It is technically 21 now, but 2020, can you imagine just having a robot on the side, someone holding an iPad with Stefanski's face, just watching the game as a whole? That would be unique, wouldn't it? But Doug, thanks for the call, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the Patriots. I totally fumbled on that one. My bad.
It's all good. I forgive.
I knew I was messing up when Kevin wasn't reacting the way I thought he was. I'm like, what? That happened, right? I'm like, oh, no, that was the Patriots. So, facts checkers 101. There's that. Let's go to Charlie. Charlie, welcome in, man. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Happy New Year.
Yes,
Happy New Year.
Absolutely. I hope you're a lot smarter in the new year than you are in 2020.
He's on a roll already.
You know what, man? Honestly, like, I was watching the Buckeyes the other night, and I was just thinking, what Dabo said, it's like, they only played 6 games, and that's why he ranked them where he ranked them. And to go along with that, Stefanski not being able to coach, it's just part of the freaking pandemic coronavirus crap. But the biggest bummer to me is Stefanski's coach of the year. It just sucks that he has to miss this game, man. Because, I mean, it's you can't pick anybody ahead of him to be coach of the year. It's the Browns. I mean, look what he did. It's amazing.
I see. I would give the Rob. And by the way, that's not a wrong answer at all. Stefanski. I'm a huge fan of Brian Flores and the job he did with the Dolphins. Mainly because, again, I'm a Browns fan saying this. I'm anti-Browns today. It feels like, but when it comes to Stefanski and Charlie, I agree with you 100%. I'm going to be super pumped when he's announced as coach of the year. But Brian Flores, he led the Dolphins to win 10 games. And they weren't supposed to win 10 games. He had less talent than the Browns. Kevin Stefanski is doing with the Browns what they should have done last year. They should be a 10-win team. They should be an 11-win team. They should be a double-digit win team. So that's where I would defer from that a little. But, again, you can't take anything away from the job he did because clearly talent is not only going to be what wins you games. You have to have the right guy to push the right buttons, and Stefanski did that for the Browns this year. But because it's the Browns, to your point, Charlie, that's what makes what he did even that much more impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's just, and he should get a little extra. I know that they're not. I don't know what they look at, but I mean it's the freaking Browns. Like you've changed the whole attitude of the fans and everything. Just in 1 year. I mean, with no preseason, and Flores, he didn't make the playoffs, so that's the end of that for me. But so that's the biggest bummer for me as far as it goes. But I mean, like I said, it's like, was it fair that Ohio State got to play with 6 games? I don't know. It's a pandemic. So same thing with the Browns. And I mean, the NFL loves a good story. If the Browns win this game without their head coach, they might make a movie out of that crap.
That would be. The Browns are known for having Draft Day, the movie made after them. I mean, how about having a movie made after them for winning without their head coach during a pandemic against the Steelers of all teams, right? Like that would be interesting. I'd
Great story.
and honestly, what's really stupid is you got a whole 65,000 seat stadium. He can't sit up in the corner. Give me a break. Like, that's so dumb. Like, I don't understand why you can't isolate somebody in a stadium when there's no fans.
And I guess the thing is, he is asymptomatic. So there is that. So this all could turn around too. I mean, he could test. He's going to test again tomorrow. Maybe it comes back negative. Then he has 3 straight negative tests. I mean, when's the last time we've had a false positive? Remember, those were running rampant for a while. Again, they've kind of ramped up testing and have kind of dotted some I's and crossed some T's. But, here's hoping for a false positive, right? Like, I know you're not a Browns fan, Charlie, but I'm just saying that's still a possibility.
Yeah, and as far as the game goes, I'm kind of on the fence about it, man. I just want to see a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that I think the last time the Browns won the playoffs, it was against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh. So, I want revenge from 2015 when Jeremy Hill fumbled and lost us the game. So, if the Browns could beat the Steelers, hey, man, I'll count it. It's an Ohio team. I'm being cool right now.
2020, Charlie, Kenner wasn't a fan of. 2021, Charlie, you're off to a good start, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, I'm excited about the playoffs.
I am too.
I don't know who the hell. If it's Bills Chiefs in the AFC Championship, it's going to be a hell of a game.
No, I agree. And real quick, by the way, we're talking about the impact of Kevin Stefanski coming up on Sunday. I know that Vegas isn't everything, but it is something. Pittsburgh was a 4-point favorite yesterday with Kevin Stefanski and everyone ready to go. It was announced earlier today, no Kevin Stefanski. It's now a 5-point line. It only shifted by 1. I do find that interesting that we're trying to figure out what the importance of no Stefanski on Sunday. I think, and to Kev's point from earlier, Charlie, it's not just that, Stefanski, but he's the play caller. He pushes those buttons. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like they don't have that key offensive coordinator that's pushing all the buttons. He is the offensive coordinator and the head coach. So technically the Browns are without 2 coaching positions on Sunday, but I do find it interesting that Vegas has only shifted that line by 1. Pittsburgh now a 5-point favorite as opposed to a 4-point favorite from yesterday.
Well, the only advantage there, and I mean, it's just wishful thinking, is the person who's going to be calling the plays, it's obviously still the same offense, but, the play calling might be slightly different. I mean, I don't know. With the Browns, it's like run left, run right. Your running backs are so good, it almost doesn't matter. But I don't know, man. I just hope for a good game. Kev, it's nothing against Pittsburgh. Me and Big Ben actually graduated the same year from Miami. So I am a Ben fan. But and Troy Polamalu is one of my all-time favorite players. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that right now.
It's all good, man. I just really want the Browns to be at 100%, and I want the Steelers to be at 100% so I can watch a good game. And I just, like I was talking with Kenner, I just think it's just like unfair, like this whole thing. But, it is a pandemic, and this is what the guys signed up for, and we're going to see what happens on Sunday night.
Yep, it's just like raising your kids, man. Stefanski, he's the dad. He raises his kids all season, and he can't be there. You got to let him go. Let go to the back of that bicycle. Let him ride.
Problem is the Browns have been on training wheels for decades. That's the problem, my friend. We're going to fall straight on our face. No helmet either. Just right on. All right, man. Hey, Charlie, good hearing from you. I apologize for the insult to start the call. I was on the defensive. I thought you were calling in to talk all sorts of smack, and I was just prepared. I was all ready. I had my fist out and everything.
Here's what happened. When the Bengals are out, I become a default AFC North fan because that's how I go. I go, team, division, conference. So that's what I do. And the Browns.
The good news is you'll be a Browns fan next January as well.
Oh no, baby, Joe Burrow, baby. Hey, he's about ready. He's almost. I don't know. He's probably about 100% right now.
I mean, he was walking the other day, and people were losing their minds. I'm like, you guys are hilarious. I tell you. Hey, I'm pulling for his recovery.
I showed that video to a Browns fan. I said, "This is your worst nightmare."
If he walks a little faster, maybe. Hey, Charlie, good hearing from you. Happy New Year. Take care.
All right, see you guys.
All right, 457-946. Now, you see that there's the Hulk Hogan intro music there in the middle, correct? It's in the bottom, maybe. Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and hit that. That is the intro music for the True American, we missed him yesterday. We're not going to miss him today. Stephen Springbow, the True American. Welcome in, my friend.
What up, dude? Hold on just a second. That's my Happy New Year to everybody in Pittsburgh, their fans, their ownership, their coaches, the head coach, who I cannot stand. I'd piss on him if I'd see him.
Oh, man.
Or probably knock him out. He reminds me of South Park Chef. That's what he reminds me of. Your real clown face. Anyway, getting to the game.
So you sound a lot more energetic than last time I heard from you.
I am, because I want them to go over there to catch a field and just wipe the field with them. I don't care who you got to plug in. I don't care. It's time. I'm sick of Pittsburgh. I'm sick of the remarks about it was Pittsburgh's reserve team. I got news for you. There was one offensive lineman out in that game Sunday, and that was Pouncey. He's a punk anyway. And I don't care about Roethlisberger. I wish they'd have been at full power. I wanted the South Park coach to have everybody playing. That'd have made my day, so there wouldn't have been any excuses. I don't care if you win by 1. I don't care if you win by 20. A W's a W, boys, and I don't care where you're playing. I don't care if there's any fans in the stands or not. It's time to punch them in the mouth, kick them in the ass, and be done with them. I'm tired of it. 0-2, we had them down 17-0. And if Dennis Northcutt catches a pass on third, and I believe it was 11 or 12, the game would have been over. We would have won. We would have won on the next week. But anyway, getting to the game, Batonio, it's going to hurt losing him, because you're either going to have to put Harris or you're having to put that Pittsburgh reject Hubbard at left guard next to a good tackle that we've got, that even though he's a rookie, he's going to be a good one. And then a playoff game, and he's going to be in his first playoff game. That's what scares me. And that Harris kid they got, he's all right, but he's young and he's raw. Batonio's a Pro Bowler, so that left side's going to be hurting. Because, and that's Baker's blind side, so I don't know. What do you think?
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're talking about the impact of no Kevin Stefanski on Sunday. But if Browns fans could only pick one, Batonio or Stefanski, which one do they need more? I'm kind of rolling with you. Said Batonio, I think it's a big deal right now, because that team goes as that offensive line goes.
The players play. Coaches make the call. The players got to go out next.
But we learned from Freddie Kitchens last year that the coaches do have a huge impact on the way the team works, too, because they had the same talent a year ago, and it didn't work as well.
Well, Freddie Kitchens is a clown. He needs to belong to Barnum Bailey Circus or whatever. That'd be a good place for him. Put a big red nose on him. He'd be a good-looking clown. But anyway, I think hopefully it'll be a close game, and I hope it doesn't come down. The only thing that scares me if it comes down to a field goal attempt, and Parkey does the crap that he does. Because have you seen what he's done over the course of his career?
I mean, I remember him losing a playoff game for the Bears years ago, and he was a Cleveland one. Sorry, I'm not a big Parkey guy, but you know what? At this point, if Cleveland even has if it even comes down to where the Browns need a field goal to win a game at the end, I'd say that means the Browns played a pretty damn good game. So I'm hoping it does come down to him. I'm just going to be, biting all my fingernails off. I promise you that much.
And I want to think this year, since it's the new year, and I had the COVID and everything, and you kicked me in the butt pretty good. Long story short, I think next year when the season rolls around, I think I'm going to change from the true American to the hometown voice of the Cleveland Browns for the Miami Valley. Talk to you guys later. Go Browns.
There he is, the true American, the ultimate Browns fan.
What was that? Hometown what?
Hometown voice of the Browns, or what do you say? Hometown. Were you writing it down?
I'm trying to get an acronym for it.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Just the initials so we can.
We got to, so the hometown voice of the Browns, But where'd it go? Chris has a message for Steve from Springware. He says, make sure Steve calls in next Monday, no matter what. Steve from Springware, I know you're still listening. Chris wants you, even if the Browns lose, and now there's people in the car saying, when the Browns lose. So when the Browns lose, according to those who are, hating on the Browns right now, you have to call in next Monday, no matter what. Fans get upset when the Browns lose and we don't hear from you. Now, in Steve's defense, we didn't hear from him for a while. He was battling the COVID.
Glad he's doing better.
And we are glad he's doing better. But again, we need to hear from Steve on Monday regardless. But David Shaw, he doubts him. He says he won't. So David Shaw, he doubts Steve from Springboro. So will the true American actually call? That's going to be the big question coming up next Monday. But I think he will, because I think he's going to be calling in a good mood. But yeah, Bitonio, Stefanski, which is a bigger loss for the Browns in your opinion?
Stefanski.
Bitonio.
I think you're really discrediting everything that
I'm really
Stefanski
not. You know what? The special teams coordinator that's going to be running the offense for the Browns coming up on Sunday doesn't take a whole lot of brains to just say, hey, hand it to Chubb, hand it to Hunt. And you need Bitonio's big ass right there in front to be making them gaps for them to be able to run through. So, but in all seriousness, 457-9464, Brown says Bitonio, Stefanski, which is a bigger loss for the Browns come Sunday. I think it's Bitonio. Kev says Stefanski, I say Bitonio. He says tomato, I say tomato. I mean, it's just how it goes, right? But there we go. All right, folks, we'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash. When we come back, 457-9464. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Fever is a leading symptom of the coronavirus, so take your temperature twice a day. It's quick and easy to use, and its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies. Have your family start and end their day with the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Your family can take their temperatures in seconds to know where they stand in the fight against COVID-19. Protect your family from the spread of this deadly disease and stay safe with Exergen.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works package. We'll change the oil and filter, rotate the tires, check the brakes, test the battery, and check all the fluids and filters. Still starting at just $39.95. And ask us about our double take tire specials. Goodyear, Michelin, BF Goodrich, Kelly, and other quality tires. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's Hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick Weight Loss Hypnosis Seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Join Mark Patrick's Hypnosis Seminar and lose the weight, stop smoking, or end anxiety for only $49.99 guaranteed or your money back. Because of coronavirus, seminars are now online live Thursday, January 7th or Saturday, January 9th for Dayton. Details at markpatrickseminars.com. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school, spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen, as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
It's time for some straight talk.
Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Pros, Lowe's offers commercial cleaning supplies from top brands like Clorox Zep and Rubbermaid to help you stay clean and safe. Shop Lowe'sForPros.com and choose delivery or pickup in store. Lowe's, the new home for pros, U.S. only.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
We all know the Cleveland Browns have one of the best offensive lines in football, but when we say they have one of the best offensive lines in football, what does that necessarily mean? Do people automatically just assume you have the best offensive line in football, so that means they protect? How do you judge that? How many times your quarterback's been hit? How? Because if you do it that way, Kev, the Steelers have an offensive line that's way better than the Cleveland Browns now.
Right.
But most people will give the offensive line advantage to the Cleveland Browns.
100%. Browns.
Baker Mayfield's only been hit 8 times. Baker Mayfield, I'm sorry, has 8 interceptions. I'm getting on my. He's been hit like 28 times, 26 times. Baker Mayfield's been sacked 26 times this season. 13 times Ben Roethlisberger has been sacked this year.
That's why I don't look at those advanced stats all like that. That's why I don't put everything into them. I saw that. Was it PFF? That's the one.
Oh, the Cincinnati Homer side down there. Yeah.
So Dotson hasn't given up a sack all season, and he graded out pretty high on their grades and everything like that. Well, that's just taking into account like what they do passing. It's evident what they do in the run game because they haven't been able to run the ball all season long. And I know a lot of the things like that people look at Connor and everything like that. Well, no running back is going to get any yards if he has nowhere to go, if the line is clogged up. I think what the Cleveland Browns have been able to do, not only protecting Baker Mayfield, but everything inside the run game and getting to the second level. You see those guards pulling on those counters and everything like that, smacking linebackers, smacking DBs. Like that's an offensive line, protecting your quarterback and executing in the run game.
Yeah, it reminds me of a few years ago. It was the year Le'Veon Bell sat out the whole year for the Steelers and ultimately forced his way out. Joe Mixon led the AFC in rushing.
Mm-hmm.
He was the AFC's leading rusher that year. And that was also the year, the offensive line for the Bengals was absolutely disastrous. Now you're probably saying, oh, that's any year. And you're right. But everyone, I remember when I would bring that up, Bengals fans would get mad and say, what are you talking? They clearly aren't that bad. Joe Mixon led the AFC in rushing. And then you get into Andy Dalton was a sitting duck and basically any quarterback to drop back from. Right. So again, as far as well-rounded, the Cleveland Browns have the better overall offensive line because they could pass block and run block. But again, Baker Mayfield's been sacked 26 times, but I never he got sacked like 40-plus times last year. So they've still cut that. And if the season ended like last Sunday, which it normally does for the Browns, they would have, kept Baker upright 14 more times than they did the year before. So there is that aspect of it when you think about it like that. But I'll bring that up mainly just because I was looking at those numbers earlier, and I was surprised to see that Baker Mayfield has been hit twice as many times as Big Ben Roethlisberger, but we don't talk about Big Ben's offensive line, mainly because, to your point, they get ridiculed for having the worst run game in football. It's going to be interesting, that matchup. We're going to start looking at the pros and the strengths and weaknesses for both teams heading into that matchup coming up in a moment. But Bitonio or Stefanski, both out, offensive lineman for the Browns and head coach Stefanski out for Sunday. Both are going to impact, both of their absences are going to have a huge impact for the Cleveland Browns, but which one do the Browns need more? If you could only bring one back for Sunday, who would, regardless of what you and me think, Kev, what about the fans? Who do you think the fans would pick, the head coach or the offensive line?
I think fans are going to go with the player.
Yeah, and I would have to favor the player as well, just because Stefanski's play calling is going to be, that's going to be key. But these offensive coordinators, these guys around him, they know his offense. They know kind of what he's thinking. But again, the playoffs have an environment around that just swallows you and eats you alive. And that's going to be the key. Is just does the moment overwhelm the special teams coordinator that is now taking over as active head coach for Sunday's game?
You might know, I don't know, or maybe some of the listeners might know. How many guys came from Minnesota with him?
Well, Pfeiffer, whatever the hell this guy's name?
Right.
He was with Stefanski at Minnesota.
And
I'm not sure how many of these guys came with him though. That I don't remember.
And Calhoun, the old Nebraska coach, is the old line coach, right? Okay.
So he was with the Raiders. Not Calhoun. Callahan, yeah. He was the head coach of the Raiders decades and decades ago. So, yeah. All right, 457-9464. If you could bring only Bitonio back or Stefanski back for Sunday, which absence is going to hurt this team more? Let's go to Steve. Steve, thanks for holding.
Hey, happy New Year, guys.
You as well.
I'm going to go with Kev. I think Stefanski is much more important than the left tackle.
Yeah, and real quick, Kev will hop back on with us here, Steve. Keep in mind, they're both going to impact this week's game, so I don't mean to sound like it's no big deal that he's not there, but I would just roll with the offensive lineman, man. But no, you're definitely not wrong. Kev, he said he agrees with you, by the way. Stefanski is the bigger loss. Smart.
Well, it's the leader. Your leader is done. He's not going to be there. Do I think there's going to be communication? Absolutely, there's going to be communication. With technology today, he's going to be involved, but your main guy is not there. The leader is on the sideline. But I got a question for you guys about the Buckeyes. I want to know your over under 70 points.
That seemed high, right? Didn't that seem high?
I think it's a little less. I think it's going to be over 80 myself.
So both teams at 35. You know who that's disrespecting?
The loser's going to have 30.
You know who that's disrespecting, right? The Buckeyes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I don't think Vegas is anticipating Alabama's offense to just hit a wall. You know what I'm saying? I think that's
we're both going to score. We're both going to score points.
Yes.
Alabama's defense is pretty good. If there's either team, if we're talking two teams scoring only 35, they are pretty damn.
I think the loser is going to have 35 points. And I think this is going to be a shootout.
I think it's going to be 42-40. The last team that has the ball is going to win the game.
Oh,
that's what I think.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's an exciting finish. What's the last exciting national championship? These national, last year's was a blowout. I want an exciting finish.
National, probably the last exciting national championship probably was it Deshaun Watson's junior year?
Every year we get to this point where we have the best two, but Clemson punched Alabama in the mouth. Alabama came back, punched them in the mouth. It's LSU blew out Clemson last year.
Right.
So hopefully this is a close one, and hopefully, Steve, you're right.
Have you guys heard about how Fields is feeling? They're being pretty close-lipped about it.
I saw the message boards for both Alabama and Ohio State. They were bouncing all over the place. There was a lot of speculation. Actually, I saw that Jeff Snook, he was having to answer for it on his Facebook page today. But he was talking about, there's a lot of words going around that, hey, there may not. That one of these teams is having an outbreak, and they may have to push the national championship game back. But it was weird. Justin Fields was supposed to meet with media yesterday, and at the last moment, they said he'd meet with them later in the week. He never met with media, so that got people speculating that a potential COVID test. Again, all speculatory. There's nothing out there to prove that, so don't take that and run with it.
I'm not worried about that. He had to take a good shot of some painkiller to even finish the game.
Hey, they had that shot in the tent that day. They'll have the shot in the tent that day as well, on Monday as well. So I'd have two shots in that tent waiting for him.
I do agree, and I'm kind of sad coming into the year. My Dolphins, although they didn't make the playoffs, they did finish second in the division, as I predicted, but they just didn't have enough to take care of Buffalo. And I do think Flores should be the coach of the year.
Man, you got to be happy, man. You guys won 10 games this season, potentially have your quarterback of the future, and you have, the third pick in the draft? You're set. Fourth pick in the draft. You guys are set.
Well, I'm not too a fan, and he didn't show me anything the last game. I just think I'm not sold on him yet. I'm not giving up on him yet. But there's a lot of interesting scenarios with the fourth pick coming up. So what we can end up with. I think we got number 22 as well.
You comfortable with Tua?
No, not yet. Not yet. He hasn't shown me anything. To be comfortable with him.
If Justin Fields is there, you want him?
Absolutely.
All right, that's all I need to hear. That's all. I mean, that's going to be the big question mark heading in. The Dolphins, who have done everything right to this point, all of a sudden can make a altering decision come Sunday if they move on from Tua. Tua could end up being a huge star in the league, and Justin Fields could be a bust. I mean, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It'll be interesting what they do moving forward.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And since the True American changed his moniker, we're here going to be known as Mercer County Steve. I'm not going to be Steve from Fairborn anymore. So,
Mercer County Steve, got it.
Mercer County Steve. But, looking forward to the games this weekend, and you guys take care, and talk to you next week.
Later. All right, Steve, take care, man. Mercer County Steve. There you go. People just giving them their own selves nicknames now. Steve changed it. I mean, you got to go license bureau and get that official. I mean, I don't know. All right, 457-9464. Who's up next?
We got Chris.
Chris, you're on live, man. How are you?
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
I think that the bigger loss is probably Batonio. And I say that because Lamb and Harris were terrible against the Jets.
Against the Jets.
Touche. Now you're going to go tell Harris or Dunn, who hasn't started a game all year, hey, go block Cam Hayward.
Exactly, and they're rested. They rested a lot of those guys this past, well, at least Pouncey anyways. But, that's on the defensive side. But anyways, you see my point. But no, I'm worried about that. The offensive line, that's the most tedious thing that the Browns have to focus on. And I know Stefanski's absence is going to be felt. But if Kevin Stefanski does his job this week, it's going to make up for what that impact could be on Sunday. The biggest loss for Stefanski will be in close games, like the fourth quarter. Stefanski's absence will be felt in the fourth quarter if the game's close, right? Like that's why I feel like his absence would come into play more.
I feel like they weren't at the beginning of the season. They weren't even sure if it was going to be Stefanski or Alex Van Pelt calling the play. So I think he's very comfortable with Van Pelt calling the play. But with Batonio and them, I mean, how do you prepare for that? There's nobody on the Browns defense really. That's Cam Hayward. Myles Garrett is a different animal. The thing that does give me hope though is the full strength Steelers just lost to the Bengals.
My question for you, Steve, like Stefanski can feel comfortable with someone else calling plays, but does the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, feel comfortable that way? Because he's the one that has to go out there and execute the plays. And I think that Coach Stefanski has basically dialed into seeing what Baker Mayfield does well and what he doesn't do well and catering the offense toward that. Like, you get a different play caller out there, we don't know what we're going to get. And I don't know anything about the guy that's going to be calling plays this weekend, but has he ever called a game in the NFL? Like, well, these are things that we don't. And if it is his first time calling a game in the NFL, it's in the playoffs nonetheless. So that's where I'm at with it. I think the loss of Stefanski is huge.
You can call the perfect plays you want, but if you don't have someone blocking for Baker or Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, it sure as hell don't matter what plays you're calling at that point.
And I would agree with you, Kevin. So Alex Van Pelt is the quarterback coach, very, very highly regarded around the league. He works hand in hand with Baker every day. You know, so I do think that he will get with Baker and find those plays. Now, I'm not trying to say Stefanski's not going to be a bad loss because it is. It's going to be. I mean, both. It's going to be terrible. I just think Batonio is the bigger hole.
All right, hey Chris. Normally we'd go longer. We got a guest coming up at the top of the hour. I appreciate hearing from you.
God, thanks.
All right, 457-9464. Let's hit one more. Who we got?
The one, the only DoorDash Ray.
DoorDash Ray, what's up, man? Are you between deliveries?
No, I just left from my real job, and I'm just doing DoorDash on the side now.
Side hustle, right? There you go.
Side hustle, correct. Dude, congratulations, man. I'm happy for you, Justin. I mean, how exciting is it for you right now to be an actual fan of the Browns and being in the playoffs first time in 18 years? I mean, this is awesome.
I mean, it would be a lot better if they had Batonio.
Well,
no, I know what you're saying. No. It is exciting, and it was fun for like 24 hours until we wake up to the news today that, of course, COVID has struck again. And the reason I'm not trying to mentally get too excited for this weekend is because it's only Tuesday, and that was the first, round of positive tests. Who knows what can happen? We still have all of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday we still have 5 more days of tests that this team has to go through. And right now there's clearly a thing that, look, I don't think it's a coincidence at all that following playing the Baltimore Ravens fresh after their outbreak, that all of a sudden, ever since that Ravens game, Cleveland has had an outbreak for 3 or 4 straight weeks after that. There's no doubt in my mind that is not a coincidence.
Well, and you're speaking like a true Raider fan because, you haven't been here in forever. And when you finally get here, it's almost like you're walking on the ice and you hear it cracking a little bit and you're afraid it's going to crack and you're going to go through the water, land in the water. We just don't have that confidence because we don't get a chance to come here a lot. And now that we're here, we don't know really how to take it. But, man, I'm excited for you. As far as the Alabama-Ohio State games, I don't know, man. Justin Fields, how are his ribs? Are they hurting? You won't be feeling any pain just before that game starts. But, even coming up to that game, you have to have some questions about that. And I think we should be all right. But anyway, I hear your music. Hey, I love you guys. And we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good night.
All right, Dornesh, Ray, appreciate hearing from you. Take care. Happy New Year. All right, and yes, and the thing is, Ohio State, you don't have to practice that hard. They're all well rested, right? Right? Isn't that what everyone's saying? They haven't even played. They've only played 7 games, right? Like they could all be taking. They're probably napping right now. Actually, they're not napping because they're not tired. Fresh. They're wide awake. They're just ready to go, right? No. I saw that Robert Miller, the Bama Robert over here, says rested. Like the Buckeyes? Like, yes. See, there you go. All right, folks, hour 1 in the books. We're going to kick off hour number 2. Former Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick with the Baltimore Ravens back in 2000, now with the NFL Network analyst. He's going to join us coming up when we come back. We'll talk about this Browns and Steelers matchup as well as his thoughts on, of course, the outbreak with the Cleveland Browns and how they can be impacted without Kevin Stefanski coming up on Sunday. Also, we'll talk about college football with them as well. Buckeyes. He lives in Columbus now, so we're going to talk about Ohio State, Alabama with him on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
It's, oh my God, the NBA, it almost is sacrosanct.
I mean, people are on the ground ripping open testing kits.
We all have it. It's no way we all don't have it. You knew that the direction of the entire 2020 year for the whole world just took a massive turn.
30 for 30 Podcast presents March 11th, 2020. Available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
It's game day. Are you ready? If you want your game day meal in a hurry, be sure to stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a Buckeye bucket with 25 golden brown breast strips for only $29.99. And don't forget to add a large Dr. Pepper for $1. Lee's can make your gathering for the big game famous and take the work out of your perfect party. Buckeye buckets are available daily and limited 2 per customer. Pick up 1 today. Lee's, famous for chicken.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app anytime, anywhere. Listen to more than 300 stations along with more than 3,000 podcasts from your home area or across the U.S., all free.
With the radio.com app. If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. A.J. Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
We have the NFL playoffs. Finally, we're embarking on what we've all been waiting for. We get through 17 weeks of the regular season, and of course, COVID has just added a whole new element where we're holding our breath, just hoping to get to the season. But here we are, and we're excited to bring on our next guest, NFL Network's Brian Billick, joining us, former Ravens head coach, Super Bowl winning head coach. Coach Billick, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Great to be there with you. I appreciate it. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a native of Dayton. I was born in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
And of course The last time we spoke with you, you were in the process.
Way a long
moving.
time ago.
Yeah.
We are back now. I'm in Columbus, so gotten a little closer, and good time to be in Columbus with the Buckeyes doing well.
Absolutely.
We will definitely pick your brain on that coming up in a moment. But the big headline out of the NFL today, obviously, the Browns Steelers, the build up to that Sunday Night Football. That's the one I have circled, obviously, for, you could see right there.
There you go.
Why I have it circled and ready to go. But obviously, the headlines today, no Kevin Stefanski, another COVID outbreak, 3 straight weeks where the Browns have had to shut down the facility. This is just part of playing during a pandemic, unfortunately. And the Browns have had a great season, but this is the headline heading into their first playoff game in 18 years. What was your initial reaction when you heard of this?
Yeah, it's regrettable because how great it is. And obviously, I'm surrounded by Cleveland fans here as well. Our next door neighbor is he goes apoplectic every time that the Browns do something good, and was so worried about the weekend. And this is what the league was worried about. I think the league's done a magnificent job of navigating, obviously, unique circumstance. And it has challenged some teams and when people were available, hoping to avoid that once we got into the playoffs, that there was some separation, that wouldn't affect the playoff games. But that was probably a little over optimistic. And again, if that holds, it's just regrettable because it looks like a great playoff field. It looks like a great playoff across the board with some great matchups. And you hate that it's going to be affected by the unique circumstance we're in right now.
Coach, what would be the fair thing to do with this game with the Browns and Steelers?
I don't. Unfortunately, the league again has negotiated this during the week in terms of delaying some games and postponing. With the playoffs, I just don't know that we can do anything. If a day maybe would make a difference, but the problem is now you're talking about a competitive balance that if you delay this, say, to a Monday or a Tuesday, then the winner is going to have that short week going forward, and that gives a competitive advantage to the team that they're going to end up playing. So this is a tough one for the league, and it's got to be viewed, I guess. It may be a day if they can delay it would help and make a difference, but their hands are going to be tied a little bit because, for every action, there's going to be an opposite and equal reaction that could obviously now look at it and go, well, that is that competitively fair?
Last year's Browns team, this year's Browns team, one of the biggest changes, of course, was that head coach. Kevin Stefanski's done a fantastic job. Obviously, his thumbprints are going to be all over the game plan. He's still going to be coaching remotely, at least prep wise and throughout the week. But how big of a deal is it? You being a former head coach, you could be prepping with your team all week with your presence not on the sideline. How much of a blow is that for a team like Cleveland? And your eyes being a former coach, how big of a blow is that?
Yeah, it is. It's tough. I'm a coach. I'd like to think it makes a difference. I was just doing a podcast where I related back to our first playoff game with the Ravens was against the Denver Broncos. And it was the year we went to the Super Bowl, but it's kind of a magical year for us. But that very first game, Denver Broncos, Mike Shanahan had 2 Super Bowls. I'm a second-year head coach. So I told my players, guys, if it comes down to me versus Shanahan, we're going to get our ass whooped, okay? Because this guy's got it right. So this is on you, okay? Now, obviously there was a reason why I was basically trying to invest them in the process, saying, guys, this is what it really comes down to anyway. So I'm sure the players will pick that mantra up a little bit. Coach Stefanski, who's done a great job, will kind of set the table saying, guys, I don't cross that white line anyway. So we'll get this orchestrated. We'll be okay. You guys go out and you're going to have to get this.
So many other great matchups this weekend. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
Boy, they're all good. That's the thing that I think is so intriguing. I think that Indianapolis-Buffalo game is going to be, Buffalo and what Josh Allen's doing is so spectacular. This guy and the improvement that he's made from last year. Indy is kind of a sneaky team. They're sneaky good. They're really good on defense. That running game's got cranked up. Phillip Rivers is playing as well as we've seen Phillip Rivers play. So this is a good football team, even though they've kind of been under the radar just a little bit. Certainly Baltimore and Tennessee. Baltimore, I think, is the best team in the league right now. I'm biased, obviously. But the balance they have, offense, defense, their ability to run the ball, and the third factor is the special teams. We don't talk about it much, but with Sam Cook and Justin Tucker, that's a huge advantage for teams. So, but Tennessee has got Derrick Henry, which to me is the most dominant player in the playoffs right now. His ability to take over a game and to win that time of possession. So, a couple of really good games.
NFL Network's Brian Billick, former Super Bowl winning head coach with the Baltimore Ravens, with us here. Coach, the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champs, stay in the AFC real quick. The gap between them and the field is what, in your eyes? Is it a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs are going to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl?
Well, they're pretty darn good, yeah, and obviously Patrick Mahomes is spectacular. But as I rank the playoff field, I really think Baltimore's the best complete team. Now, does that mean they can beat Kansas City in Kansas City? We'll find out. They're a team. That's the thing about Kansas City. Their strength is they're never out of it. Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter what I don't care how far you get down. We saw that in the playoffs last year. So that's a real advantage going in. I think, as I said, I think Baltimore is the best overall team, offense, defense, special teams. But what Kansas City does is something special. I think they can be beaten. Will they? I don't know. In Kansas City, it's going to be tough.
You talk about the games that we're having, but, there's no fans this year for the playoffs. And one of the biggest things is home field advantage. How do you think that's going to affect the playoffs with no fans being in the stadium this season?
It clearly, that coveting that home game in the playoffs, which is very, very real. You're talking about in places now where normally it's so tough to play that you have to go to Seattle, you have to go to New Orleans, you have to go to Kansas City. Those are prohibitive places to play, particularly in the playoffs. That is a tangible, real advantage. So clearly it's nice to be at home, but the biggest advantage is in places like that noise, the defense has a great advantage because of the get-off. Offenses are struggling to deal with the noise, and you get that good jump, particularly when you're talking about Seattle and at New Orleans. So to not have that not to be an issue, it's not a disadvantage, but it's not the advantage that you would normally have.
Speaking, heading into the playoffs, everyone likes to talk about upsets. Of all the matchups heading into this first weekend, what's the one matchup you look at and say an upset could occur? For me, Washington over Tampa, just because of Washington's defense. I have Washington as my upset of the week. Who would be your upset of the weekend?
Yeah, they're all possible. That's the great thing about Wild Card.
Yeah.
That there's always that. We went in as a low seed. And we were on, when we won our Super Bowl, and that's a hard run. So when you win as a lower seed, it's just something special. But we see it all the time. There's some great matchups. I think the biggest surprise to me, obviously, I think there are some. I don't know if Chicago can keep up with New Orleans. That would probably be my biggest surprise if Chicago were able to win. I think Washington's capable of keeping up with Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay matches up particularly well with them. And Tom Brady, if he gets the small ball going and with the big receivers down the field, I think the biggest potential upset could be the Rams in Seattle. I think Seattle's better. They're at home. Rams have been up and down. That quarterback situation obviously has changed, but that Rams defense is something special. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Rams in Seattle.
You talk about the playoffs, Coach, and I must be honest, going into the season, I wasn't a fan of expanding the playoffs, letting the extra team in and only one team getting a bye. What are your thoughts about this new playoff format?
Well, the thing that I like about it is it made more teams viable in the end. We had 8 playoff spots still to be determined going into week 17. So that just diminishes by tenfold the number of games that just don't mean anything. So from that standpoint, I think it's a good thing. I agree. I'm not a you don't want this to get like hockey where you play an entire season and you eliminate 2 teams, and everybody gets into the playoffs. There's got to be some value in it. I've long advocated that in the playoffs that we reseed in the playoffs. I think that would go a long way to keeping teams in it long. The fact that a 11-5 Tampa Bay team has to go into a 7-9 or a 6-10. Well, that's just not right. That's not the American way. Plus, if you reseed it, not only would you have teams staying in it because they want that bye, but if it changed the seeding, you might keep more games viable near the end of the season. And people are saying, well, if you win the division, you earn to have a playoff game at home. No, Washington is no disrespect to Washington, but man, you're in the playoffs at what is it, 6-10?
Yeah.
My God, or 7-9. My God, that you already got your dues by winning the division by just getting to be in the playoffs. To also now host a home game, I would reseed the playoffs 1 through 7.
What were your thoughts about that Sunday night game with Philadelphia and the Washington football team and them pulling Jalen Hurts out the game?
Well, and a lot of people have been questioning that and questioning what Doug Peterson was doing. Other than a couple good runs, Jalen Hurts was struggling now. I mean, he wasn't throwing the ball particularly well. So there's no question in my mind, Doug Peterson, whether it was right or wrong, thought he was doing the right thing to try to make something happen. Because Hurts just wasn't getting it done in the passing game. Running around, he was doing fine. And Washington is very well suited, I think, to limit a player like Jalen Hurts because of that front seven. I think people are making too much of it, that he made the move for other reasons other than the fact Jalen Hurts wasn't playing well.
Brian Billick, NFL Network analyst, former Super Bowl winning head coach with the Ravens, good enough to join us. Coach, we'll send you out with this little college question for you. Alabama, Ohio State's national championship game coming up this Monday. Who's your pick? I mean, two great teams, two great offenses. I mean, stars on both sides of the ball. Who are you picking in this one? And remember, you live in Columbus.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I do have to go out and get my mail. I do have to go to the store. So, absolutely, it's Buckeyes all the way. My youngest daughter went to Ohio State, and I'm a native Ohioan, so sure, I'm pulling for the Buckeyes. Are they capable of this? Yes, they're a good football team, and certainly Justin Fields is a wild card. Now, having said that, Alabama's pretty darn good, and they can beat you in a lot of ways. But I think the fact that the strength that Ohio State has, I don't think their defense has gotten the credit that it deserves, and so I think they're going to be better than people might think. And certainly Justin Fields has a chance to, like he did in the Clemson game, really establish himself as the guy against the best team in college football, Alabama.
Talking about him establishing himself, the Jaguars. I mean, if you're the head coach of the Jaguars, obviously Trevor Lawrence, everyone has been saying he was the number one pick 2 years ago for this year's draft. What can Justin Fields do in this game coming up to potentially pass him, or maybe even level it up to where both are just you can't lose with either?
He can give you some pause to think, well, wait a minute here. It's interesting. I think the top three guys are the fact that they're so different, and they're like guys. I think Trevor Lawrence is a little Joe Burrow-esque, going, okay, so we can extrapolate that. Think he can play that good. Certainly, Justin Fields, you could. I don't know that he's necessarily a Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he's that good an athlete, but certainly whether it's a Jalen Hurst or that type of player that can run around in that combination, and the young kid Wilson, to me, is a little like Justin Herbert. That's done so well with the Los Angeles Chargers. So, you're going to have to kind of decide, well, who this three pretty good choices. But I think with a good game against Alabama, I think there are some people. And again, the organizations will have to decide, well, what is it we think we want to be, and wrap themselves around any one of these guys. And you could be doing pretty good.
All right. Brian Billick, NFL Network analyst, thank you so much for your time. Welcome back to Ohio. And take care.
Sir. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and breezy, a high near 36. Tonight's also going to be cloudy, a low around 28. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 38. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
For the ones who know that a little late is always too late, and that the clock doesn't stop just because you're missing a part, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. And our Keep Stock inventory management solutions help ensure you have the right stuff in the right place at exactly the right time. Visit Grainger.com/keepstock to learn more. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get the exclusive 77-inch Husky welded I-beam steel shelving for just $179. It now holds up to 10,000 pounds. Plus, it's the only steel shelving with a full lifetime warranty. Find more Husky steel shelving online at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. Claim based on 2,500 pounds per shelf when evenly distributed. See store for details.
Hindsight is 2020. 2020 was a brutal year with a lot we couldn't control. Pandemic, economy, unemployment. What can we control? Our job, our career. In 2020, My Computer Career helped more people start IT careers than ever. Don't look back with 2020 hindsight next year and see yourself in that 2020 job. Take control. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. You know, my friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Hypnosis designed to work without anxiety, irritability, or weight gain. Join Mark Patrick's Hypnosis seminar and lose the weight, stop smoking, or end anxiety for only $49.99 guaranteed or your money back. Because of coronavirus, seminars are now online live Thursday, January 7th or Saturday, January 9th for Dayton. Area details at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Create your ideal workshop with help from Menards. We have everything you need from tools to lights. Save energy with a new shop light from Smart Electrician. Menards has a great selection to choose from. The 54-inch, 10,000 lumen LED super bright tread plate shop light starts instantly. Right now, it's just $54.99. Save big money now during Menards Project Day sale. Prices are good until January 16th.
Save big money at Menards.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today.
These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call. But managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS. Savings vary. Not all patients eligible for savings. Delivery restrictions apply. Visit cvs.com for details.
You're out to dinner, in a meeting, or with friends, and you feel it. Gas, bloating, or abdominal discomfort. Did you know that these could be caused by imbalance of bacteria in your gut? No matter what happens, you need the Pro. That's where Align Probiotics come in. Developed by gastroenterologists and backed by over 20 years of research, Align Probiotics contain a strain of live good bacteria that helps soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. Align puts the Pro in probiotics. Learn more at alignprobiotics.com.
What can help you take advantage of today's low mortgage rates and save money? Rocket can. You could save hundreds of dollars every month by refinancing with Rocket Mortgage at today's near historic low rates. If your current rate is over 4%, with today's low rates, you could lower your payment by over $150 a month, saving thousands in interest every year. With a cash out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, you could consolidate and pay off high interest debt, tackle home improvements that could add value to your home, or even set aside cash for your child's future education. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this, what can give you the technology to refinance easily and save money? Rocket can. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. Savings based on quick loans, term data, points and fees may apply. Offer cost information and conditions. Equals letter, license in all 50 states and all 50 rights.
Staples has everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organizational supplies, and all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start this year with big savings from Staples.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Well, not only is the state of Ohio trying to ruin the NFL playoffs, they the state of Ohio is trying to ruin the national championship game for college football. So how about this? During that conversation with Brian Billick, news starts kind of popping a little bit about, not really news, but rumors or reports of unrest amongst the fate of the national championship game. Ohio State, Alabama, as of now, is supposed to kick off less than a week from now. Monday night, 6:30 network pregame, 8 o'clock the kickoff. All of that is supposed to go down. There are different reports floating around out there that could be in jeopardy. I know that Bucknuts released an article just a little bit ago stating that COVID-19 concerns have threatened to disrupt the national championship game between Alabama and Ohio State, according to a report from John Talty and Matt Zenitz of Alabama.com, AL.com. Talty reports that 6 days out from the game that there are concerns about Ohio State players' availability. Talty goes on to say that there are concerns related to Ohio State's player availability for the game, according to sources setting up a massive decision less than a week from when the game is scheduled to kick off in Miami. Ohio State has informed key parties involved it could be without a position group due to COVID-19 testing and related protocols. This came out 18 minutes ago. Or 16 minutes ago. 18 minutes ago, Austin Ward, who comes on the show from time to time with Letterman Row, he comes out to give an update saying that there has been no change in this, according to an Ohio State spokesperson. When Austin Ward had reached out to Ohio State about some of these circulating reports, again, that are coming out more on behalf of the Alabama sources than Ohio State, Austin Ward says that according to an Ohio State spokesperson, that the game is on. Ohio State is prepping to play on Monday. 3 hours ago, Austin Ward said that the Woody Hayes Athletic Center remains open for business and that Ohio State is on the practice field this afternoon preparing for the national title game on Monday. The reason I would put stock into that is that Ohio State, if there was a whole position group out or if there is an outbreak on the team, you would think you would shut everything down for the day to regather. I would like to say I'm trying to be I'm being cautiously optimistic. I'm trying to remain optimistic that Austin Ward's reporting is more accurate, mainly because if there was an outbreak, Kev, I highly doubt that they would have the entire team practicing together today, even if they isolated the one position group where the positive test stemmed from. I mean, again, we know as much as everyone else does. Everyone else is doing the sources game, but Austin Ward is talking about an actual Ohio State spokesperson. Plus, they practiced today. They're in the Woody Hayes Athletic Complex. They're not doing that if there's an outbreak on the team. So I'm kind of leaning towards feeling more positive that they're going to play. But again, just like we talked about with the Browns earlier, so much can change between now and then. Yeah. We could be told we're going to play on Friday, and by Sunday, it all come crumbling down because of more positive tests. Who knows? We're going to keep an eye on this, but it would be so COVID-like to have the last game of the year be impacted by it. It's not college football is not going to sneak off with a quiet exit. I promise you that much.
Oh, not at all. And something I want to reiterate to people, like postponement isn't a cancellation.
Yep.
And them postponing the game only makes it better for the Buckeyes case. That means, they go through protocols, they make sure people don't have COVID, and they go out and play a football game. Rushing it to play and then us being down players, that's a bad thing. A whole position group possibly being in jeopardy. We don't want to speculate which position group that is, but any position group, if you don't have any your guys out there, you're going to be decimated, and vice versa for Alabama too. Look, man, I'm not a guy who wishes like, oh man, I hope that guy breaks his leg and he'll be out, or I hope he gets COVID so he'll be out and it makes it easy for my team to win. I want Alabama at their maximum capacity, and I want Ohio State at their maximum capacity to play this game. If they have to postpone it to get this game in and it's won the right way on the field, I'm all for it.
Well, the thing is, it's not up to Ohio State to postpone it.
Right.
It's not up to Alabama to postpone it. It's up to the college football. And the reason, it may not be postponed.
Right.
They might just be told, hey, listen, this is where.
Well, the NFL.
Yep. And by the way, it was a situation too where This is why the Big Ten had its protocol of a certain percent threshold of players that needed to be tested positive for them to warrant a postponement or a cancellation. When you have two different teams from two different conferences, clearly that is impacting, what's the right way of doing it. That's the other thing that's being exposed. I tell you what, we'll get into more of that on the other side of this break. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz, he's going to join us on the other side of this break. We're going to get back into more of this when we come back. Again, nothing is official. Ohio State, Alabama is scheduled to kick off on Monday night at 8 o'clock with the national championship on the line. That's what we know right now. There are reports circulating that could be in jeopardy, at least in regards to the championship game being played on Monday. Not that it would be canceled. It could most likely be postponed. Postpone's not the end of the world, but it is something to keep an eye on, not just for Ohio State, but for Alabama as well. Let's continue to talk about this as it is ever evolving. We'll be joined by ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, this is John McManus, Chief Deputy to Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Mike Foley. Because of a recent change in Ohio law, you can now have your documents notarized online. Clerk Mike Foley is pleased to offer you this service today. If you would like to request an online notarization, please visit courthouse2u.com and click on Online Notary to make an appointment. You can now enjoy our same great customer service from the comfort of your home. Visit courthouse2u.com today.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Make sure you subscribe and download the Justin Kinner Show podcast in your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store. You'll have access to shows in their entirety as well as select segments and all interviews like the one we're about to do here with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Brian Billick, former Ravens Super Bowl winning head coach, now with the NFL Network. That interview will be posted immediately following the show as well. So, as we all know, reports are starting to circulate that there's a little concern involving the national championship game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and Alabama on Monday night. Austin Ward with Letterman Row said that an Ohio State spokesperson has reached out to him and said, hey, they're still planning to play on Monday. They practiced today. And as I said, I don't know anything about this other than basically, Kev, if there was an outbreak, I feel like they would have shut down all the facilities today, that they would not have had the entire team out there practicing. Yes, they could have isolated those who tested positive and kept them away, but you'd think you'd be extra cautious, keeping everyone away from one another right now while they sort it out, hoping that it doesn't spread even bigger. But let's bring in our next guest, ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Jason, you didn't think we'd end the season quietly now, did you? I mean, my goodness, this is the only fitting way to end the college football season.
Oh, and guys, I'll just be selfish for a second. All I keep thinking about is the number of broadcasts that we do and the amount of work that goes into broadcasting the college football championship game. And to think of what, when you're saying that, all I'm thinking about are the people behind the scenes that work their tails off to get all these details done and what they must be going through right now, trying to figure out the what ifs and the possibilities. It's a machine, the college football world, as big as any huge tour I've ever been on. And I can't imagine these sorts of changes coming in last second. So, of course, it's got to be chaos.
Oh, sorry. I thought Kev was jumping in here. No, and I think the one thing, too, that allows them to be a little bit more flexible is the fact that you don't have a stadium full of fans. It is easier to be able to maybe push this back a little bit, too. But, again, this is all just speculation. We have no clue what's going on right now. You might know more than we do, or no one knows anything at all. But let's just say, okay, the game's on Monday night. We're building towards that. Ohio State, Alabama. Many people figured it would be Clemson, Alabama. We got the Buckeyes in there, and this area is beyond excited and beyond happy. But your initial thoughts as these are the final two teams standing after it's all said and done?
Well, first and foremost, I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, I picked Clemson to win, and, I feel like to watch the body of work of what we've seen from Clemson. And guys, in all the years that I've been working for ESPN, it's my fourth year covering college football for ESPN. I've never seen Brent Venables get his butt kicked the way he got his butt kicked in that game. And, you know, there was just a moment of outsmarting, out-chess matching the best defensive coordinator in the country. And the fact that they were catching Clemson not lined up so often, the tempo changes that they made a small deal of in the broadcast, I thought were a massive deal to just getting everything set. Ohio State was so much more ready for this game coming out of the gate. They were so much more fired up. And, you know, as much as we like to think that you don't need extra motivation, it is obvious that that extra motivation gave them a gear we haven't seen from this Ohio State team. And I got nothing but props for what we saw from that team and the game plan. Not just everybody keeps talking about Justin Fields' toughness. That's a part of the story. The game plan for Ohio State, they flat out outcoached Clemson in that game. I was stunned by it, and a spectacular win for them.
Obviously, one of the bigger narratives of this match, the Clemson matchup, was Dabo Swinney ranking Ohio State at number 11. Now, we all know how media works. I actually thought that was way overblown. Dabo Swinney had no team that was ranked that only played 9 or less games in his top 10. He said it's his poll. It means something to him, and that's just the criteria he had in place. It didn't matter if it was Ohio State or anyone. He kept him out. But he had to have known that it was going to be grabbed and ran with, and that's ultimately what happened. But did you have a problem with anything that Dabo said? Because I'm in the minority here. I don't think he said anything wrong, but because of the hatred between these two fan bases and programs, it was definitely like throwing fuel on fire. That's for sure.
I don't think he said anything wrong. I think you're right about that. But let me I will say this: the way he handled it in general. I mean, if it was his quarterback, you know, that was out there, if Trevor Lawrence did a weekly ranking as part of it, and they knew that they were about to play Ohio State, you don't think that he would have gone to Trevor and been like, "Hey, let's make sure that we got Ohio State." Right, put him at number 1. Give him all the respect in the world. Don't give them bulletin board material. Dabo's smart enough to know that he was providing bulletin board material just by doing the vote the way he did it, and that's something that he's got this, you know, faith-based lovability that everybody just sort of forgives some of these moments for. He's still a college football head coach. He knows what he's doing every single time he does it. So I don't have a problem with the way he did it or what he said. But it's a little disingenuous for him not to turn around and acknowledge that he knew that was going to be some sort of bulletin board material.
You know, Alabama has their own situations going on down there with Sark leaving for Texas. How do you think him leaving for Texas is going to affect him in a championship game?
It won't. They're used to it. They've had so many times that the coordinators have left for greener pasture. I genuinely don't think it makes a big deal to this. I mean, guys, for Alabama, they are just so incredibly good, and they're so incredibly stacked, and they are just Nick Saban's team. So as long as Saban is there, everything else seems to work itself out for them. So you know, the real of this is it's simple. They got 3 guys that look virtually unstoppable, and you got to figure out how you're going to take at least one of the 3 of them away. And Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, who we all think is going to win the Heisman tonight, and Mac Jones. And the biggest thing for Ohio State, and I love this note, it came from Get Up, Hembo over at Get Up. I saw him talking about the fact that Mac Jones on passes that were in the air for 30 or more yards. So in the air, 30 more yards, completing 58% of his passes. That just shows you how good their deep ball is right now. So it doesn't matter. Frankly, I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. When you got those weapons, they're going to be just fine. So I don't see it making a big deal in this game.
I think everybody believes this is going to be a shootout. How many points will the Buckeyes need to score to come away with a victory?
40. I mean, I do believe it's going to be a shootout. But the one thing that, if I'm a Buckeye fan, this is what I'm hanging my hat on. The Alabama defense 2 or 3 times this year has looked suspect. Let's not twist that into anything. They have looked bad a couple of times. And then the other side is that Alabama hasn't faced an offense that not only is explosive but can also run the ball this way. And, you know, I'll give credit to Greg McElroy, who laid it out for us when we were doing College Football Live yesterday. And he said, look, you know, realistically, Northwestern went in there and they changed the defense up on Ohio State, and they forced Ohio State to really commit to using Trey Sermon. Well, guess what? That sort of awoken the beast of, okay, fine, if you want us to beat you that way, we will. Now that we've seen how effective this offense can be when they are running the ball that way, Alabama's going to have their hands full trying to stop Ohio State from scoring points. So they have to get more than 40. I still, you know, I'm not going to lie to you guys because I'm talking to you. I still like Alabama in this game, but I don't think Alabama's faced an offense that can test them the way that this Ohio State offense will.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's crazy to think that this is already year number 7. This is the 7th college football playoff. And right now when you look at the fact that Alabama's won it twice, Clemson's won it twice, and Ohio State's looking to jump into that group as well. If they could beat Alabama on Monday, they would be the 3rd team to have 2 national championships within this college football playoff era, which is no surprise. I don't think that's a coincidence at all that when you look at the recruiting rankings and how they always seem to match up with these 3 schools, and of course the amount of championships that are continuing to be racked up. But you also have a chance for Nick Saban to win his 3rd national championship in the college football playoff era. Either way, whoever's crowned on Monday night, it's going to be an historic feat, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, and look, I think what's best for college football, in my opinion, is for Ohio State to win the national championship. Because at some point, we've got to continue to broaden it. As we've all talked about before, I wish they would broaden the entire thing out. But there needs to be more than just Alabama and everybody else. So when you look across the board, what we got in the playoff, 3 of the 4 teams. We'll hold Notre Dame out of this conversation for a second. You got 3 of the best coaches in the country with 3 of the programs that spend a lot of money, that spend a lot of resources on it, with 3 of the most passionate fan bases going in, and 3 of the most talented rosters. So at some point, if we want this to continue to spread out, it's got to continue to normalize. So what I root for in college football every year is chaos. And I think the answer that helps us the most for chaos is actually Ohio State winning the national championship, because Alabama does it, it's just another Alabama win. Ohio State does it, all of a sudden it puts more pressure on Michigan and the rest of the Big Ten to figure out what they're going to do to close the gap that's even wider than it was coming into the season. And all of a sudden Ohio State turns around and says, no, we belong in this exact same conversation as Dabo and as Saban. And that to me is the best answer. If you are a college football analyst or a fan that doesn't have a favorite team, I think you should be rooting for Ohio State.
Last thing before we switch over to NFL to close this conversation out, your national champion after Monday night is who? When you and I and Kev sit down to chat next Tuesday, who is going to be the national champion that we're talking about?
I think it's going to be Alabama, but I think it's going to be a heck of a game. Guys, I can't figure out how you shut down Devontae. And, if you put in the resources to shutting down Devontae, good luck with that. But even if you do, Najee is still a problem. So, I realize that Ohio State can say the same thing. Right now it feels like they've got the same ability to be explosive and the same ability to run the ball. But there's just there's a size issue with the Alabama guys sometimes that I think plays its way through this too. So I wish I would say it the opposite way, because it makes me happier with you guys and it would make me happier. But I feel like we're looking at somewhere in the range of a 45 to 38. So it's a close game, high scoring game. But I think Alabama wins it.
We got COVID issues in the NFL, and it comes down to the Browns. They make the playoffs for the first time in 18 years, and now their number one guy, their head coach, the play caller, the guy that got them on track, has COVID-19. He won't be on the sidelines for the Browns. How will that affect them?
I think it has an impact, right? But the unfortunate thing, this is the most Browns thing ever, right? To finally get into the playoffs. And I feel that pain. I mean, everybody knows I'm a Raiders fan. I cannot imagine what it would feel like to finally have a playoff game and say, hey, we've made it, and then find out that COVID is still an issue. And this is unfortunate. There's nothing that anybody can do about it. It just stinks. But ultimately, it stinks for this Cleveland team that already was going to have their hands full with Pittsburgh. I mean, look at what happened last week. As much as the playoff moment feels great, you also got to admit that Cleveland had everything to play for in this game, and it came down to the end of the game against Mason Rudolph. I mean, you put Ben in and you put the Steelers in going full force on him. I think they were already going to be a favorite. Now you take Stefanski out, who's done a great job this year really running this offense. I think it hurts Cleveland in this game, and they didn't have the wiggle room to get hurt.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. The Browns are also going to be without one of their top offensive linemen in Bitonio. And one question we threw out to Browns fans a little bit ago was, hey, if you could only bring one of them back for Sunday, who would you rather pick? Which absence is going to impact this Browns team more, the loss of their offensive lineman in Bitonio or their head coach in Kevin Stefanski? And I'm on the side of saying that Bitonio is, because no matter who's calling the plays, whoever's calling the plays better be smart enough to say, hand the damn ball off to Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And if whoever calls those plays and says to hand it off to them, they need holes to run through. And without Bitonio, that's going to make that a little bit more difficult. So I'm in favor of saying that that's going to be a bigger blow for this team than Stefanski, although both will impact them negatively.
You are 1,000% right, because through all of it, I'm going to put my trust in the players that are on the field. We really undervalue at the NFL level how smart these guys are when it comes to knowing what to do and how to do it, right? Like we just, I think we overstate the greatness of coaching at the NFL level, and we understate the football intelligence of the players at the NFL level. So, if I have the choice between getting that offensive line as busy as possible, you want all the big boys that you can possibly get up there, because you're absolutely right. This is not a game to get cute. This is not a game to prove anything to anybody. This is a game to come out and do exactly what you said. You know how this Cleveland team wins. They win by running the ball with two guys that would be absolutely epic running backs on their own with any team right now. You got two of them, you use both of them, and you enjoy every second of that ground and pound approach. That's the only way they can win the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, real quick, and Kev, you got the next question, but real quick, I want to interrupt you, Kev. The one thing I found interesting too, Vegas is a tell-all, Jason, as we all know. It was a 4-point line yesterday. The Steelers were favored by 4. I was curious what the line was going to shift to without Stefanski. It only shifted to 5. Steelers are now a 5-point favorite. I found that interesting that without Stefanski, that line only shifted that much, and Vegas knows all, so that answers that for us too.
Yeah, that's true. You're not wrong about any of that. I'm surprised to hear that, in fact.
You got 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. It's a football man's heaven. Which game are you looking forward to seeing the most?
Oh, that is a great question. I think the Ravens-Titans game, I know a lot of people are picking it. I think it's the one that is best suited for an upset. I think that one's going to be really good because it's strength on strength in so many ways. I mean, Derrick Henry, we all know, is great, but I don't want to undersell what Ryan Tannehill has done. And the Titans, for anyone that haven't watched, have become a very explosive offense. It's fun to watch the Titans play offense, but their defense is not just bad. It's an abomination. Their defense is it's historically bad. And I don't know that I've seen many teams that are more nervous in 3rd and 15 on defense than the Titans, because they're like, well, they're going to throw the ball now. We can't do anything about it. So, what are the Ravens going to do with that? Because Lamar Jackson has shown at times that he can beat you with his arm. So how are the Ravens going to turn around and attack that Titans defense that is just a joke this year? So I think the Ravens are right to make the upset because I do believe that they can have so much success against that defense. So maybe that's what makes it the most exciting matchup for me, is just the thought that that's the one that feels like it could go a different way. I'm all in, frankly, on the Chiefs. I'm all in on the Bills. I think those two teams are going to cakewalk through these first-round games. So it really comes down to either the Browns, Steelers, which we just saw. So maybe that's why it doesn't have so much love. So I'll go. I'm all AFC in my love. Apparently, I'll go Ravens tonight.
All right, ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Good enough to join us here on the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Jason, we send you out. The Heisman winner tonight is who?
It's Devontae. Devontae Smith will win the Heisman tonight. I think everybody's right about it. I'm honored to say that I have a vote for the Biletnikoff Award for wide receiver of the year, and I didn't even have to think twice. If you watched him, he's uncoverable. And we've got two guys in Devontae Smith and Kyle Pitts this year that prove that you can be uncoverable in a million different ways. So it's exciting right now in the college football game to look at what these wide receivers are doing. I believe that the quarterbacks are going to cancel out each other in much of the voting. Najee wasn't a big part of this. So I think the quarterbacks take themselves out of the vote. Devontae ends up becoming the winner. But frankly, guys, if I had a vote on the Heisman, I would have voted for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's a better player in college football, and I don't think there's a more important player to his team in college football than Trevor Lawrence. I would have gone Trevor, but I think Devontae wins.
All right, and this will be the last thing. By the way, that Cheez-It commercial, I'm craving Cheez-Its for some reason. I have no clue why. That Cheez-It commercial was one of the most badass commercials I've ever seen. So shout out to you and Mike Golick Jr. for your 2 epic performances in that, by the way.
Man, thanks. I'll be honest. I was sitting around and my phone blew up. I didn't know they were going to run it during the Cheez-It Bowl. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, Mike and I were testing each other. It's like, for everything that we've done in our lives respectively, I think it's a highlight, a top 5 moment for both of us to be like, we look like idiots on a Cheez-It song that I wrote, a Cheez-It song that I produced, and we both performed. Like, it was a really cool moment to have that play during during the Cheez-It Bowl, and they've now made vinyl records. That Mike got his today. I haven't gotten mine. I've been checking the mail every 5 minutes because I'm going to put that thing in the case and frame it somewhere because it's been a fun project.
Is that actually your voice? You could sing, huh?
Yeah. Back before I was just a fiddle player in a band, I sang in a bunch of them. So yeah, that's me. That's me singing and Mike rapping on it. So that's all our work. And I had no idea. Like Mike came over and I put up a microphone and he's never been in the studio. And I'm like, all right, this is how it goes. And like 3 takes in, I was like, good God, some people are just performers. And he nailed it. Like, so I had no idea, as the kids say, he can spit bars. Things I should never say. But he did a great job doing that. And then it was funny because he sat down and he sat on the couch. He's like, what are you going to do now? And I just started like, the super high squealy notes. And he's like, I didn't know you had that in you. So we both, we had a good time doing it together.
All right, good stuff. Jason, thank you for giving us time. And we'll talk again in a week. You take care.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong just for you guys on the championship game. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Later, man. Thanks.
All right, good stuff. By the way, a lot of love for Alabama, which no surprise there. But, we chatted with Brian Billick, former head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, a little bit ago. He's actually living in Columbus now. But he said, look, everyone's picking Alabama. And everyone picked Clemson. That worked out pretty good for the Buckeyes the first time. But if you haven't seen that Cheez-It commercial, you need to go find it. It's pretty damn funny. We'll check it out. All right, folks, we'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kevin Nash next.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company-paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Fever is a leading symptom of the coronavirus, so take your temperature twice a day with the Exergen Temporal Scanner. It's quick and easy to use, and its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies. Have your family start and end their day with the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Your family can take their temperatures in seconds to know where they stand in the fight against COVID-19. Protect your family from the spread of this deadly disease and stay safe with Exergen.
Staples has everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organizational supplies, and all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start this year with big savings from Staples.
Don't miss the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you want to talk about outliers? Those guys are out. You're lucky that this thing's separating us. That's all I got to say. For facts, though. I got your facts right here.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinder Show on Facebook to follow along. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
My New Year's resolution was that I was going to make sure that we hit commercial breaks on time every time, and all of a sudden now I'm like, I went to break too early. And now we're back.
Just like that.
Absolutely. Bengals fans, we're going to get into a Cincinnati Bengals conversation coming up top of the hour. The Cincinnati Bengals announced that they are going to bring back Zac Taylor for a third year. He's won 6 games in his first 2 years as head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. And, we're going to discuss that. 625-1 is his record, but Mike Brown feels confident that he is the guy for the team moving forward. And I'm curious Bengals fans' reactions to that. So we'll get to that coming up. And I'm going to tell you why. No surprise. I think they made a mistake. But not for the usual reasons why I list that they made a mistake. We'll get to that coming up in a moment. So I got this email a little bit ago. The Vegas odds, Urban Meyer is now a huge betting favorite to be named Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, according to odds makers. Right now, where will Urban Meyer be coaching in 2021? The Jacksonville Jaguars have a huge lead over the Jets, but any other NFL team or not coaching at all, Jacksonville Jaguars is in the lead completely. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's something to keep an eye on. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think he does it. It's a challenge. I don't think it's as stressful. I think that it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. It's the coaching part. It's the taking over a young team. He's going to be able to grow with these young athletes. I mean, this is one of the worst teams in football. They have $70 million in cap space. They have the number 1 overall pick. It would be interesting just because of his Buckeye affiliation. You know, if Justin Fields goes out and just balls out on Monday of March in February or whenever the national championship game is. If Justin Fields goes and balls out, and this is what we talked about with Brian Billick earlier, I'm like, is there anything that Justin Fields could do to maybe, kind of even the gap a little bit or to close the gap between him and Trevor Lawrence? By the way, how close are they? I mean, let's take our Buckeye blinders off a little bit. there is a gap between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. People don't want to acknowledge that around here, but it is true. But how big is that gap, and how much did he close that gap, in your opinion, last week against Clemson in the semifinals?
There's a gap, but it's not a significant gap. I'd like to look at a whole body of work. I won't ever let my opinion be swayed off one performance. I always thought that Justin Fields was a good quarterback, just needed more reps. Everything seemed to come so easy for him, being with Ohio State and all the talent around him. I really liked the way he played. I know it sounds crazy, but in last year's matchup versus Clemson, where he was banged up, obviously he wasn't able to run because of his knee. So it made him stay in the pocket a lot more and going up against elite competition. The level of competition that he's playing every week in the Big Ten, Ohio State laps that. So I like to see guys play equal competition, and I know he threw 2 interceptions in that semifinal game, but I really like the way he played in that game. And obviously, I love the way he played on New Year's Day. But the gap isn't too crazy. I never thought the gap was too crazy. I really like Sunshine down there at Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. I think he has the potential to be one of those guys that we talk about for the next 10, 15 years, because just the size, not only the size in his arm, but, he has that ability to get outside the pocket. And that's where the NFL is going. Not necessarily, Lamar Jackson or Vince Young, guys that really run, but guys who can move inside the pocket and scramble for first downs, kind of a la Aaron Rodgers. We never mistake Aaron Rodgers as a guy that's going to pick up a 50-yard run, but 3rd and 5, if you let him outside the pocket, he's going to get it. And that's how I envision Trevor Lawrence being in the NFL, a guy that can pick up that first down with his legs, who isn't a statuesque type of guy. So I don't think the gap is too far. I don't think you can go wrong with either guy picking him number one, to be perfectly honest.
Well, if that was true, Justin Fields would be in the conversation. Trevor Lawrence has been locked up as the number one pick since his freshman season. Many people believe last year he would have for sure been the number one overall pick last year, even after the great year that Joe Burrow had. Now, I still question that, because I think what made Joe Burrow so special to Cincinnati was because of the fact that he is an Ohio guy. I do think that if Trevor Lawrence would have come out last year, Joe Burrow would have been picked number one overall, even over Trevor Lawrence, despite Trevor Lawrence's greatness, just because it's just a good fit. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think that Justin Fields makes sense in Atlanta. A couple of mock drafts I saw today, but Justin Fields would have to drop a little bit, but that's mainly because of the situation that some of these teams are in. The Dolphins, the Jets and the Dolphins, we assume the Jets want a quarterback, but they may decide to keep Sam Darnold and trade back if a team is that, in dire need of a quarterback to maybe trade up. They might, take their chances with Sam Darnold moving forward. The Dolphins have Tua Tagovailoa picking third right there. And then you have the Falcons coming in at number 4. Justin Fields could drop a bit. The reason I brought that up is what is the gap is because if Urban Meyer is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have the number one overall pick. If the gap is not that big, or if there's not a gap at all, why wouldn't Urban Meyer take Justin Fields number one overall? The thing that's going to be fun about Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence in the NFL is the hatred between, maybe not the two. I've never really read or seen anything of the dislike between the two, but the dislike between the Buckeyes and Clemson. These two are always going to be paired together. When there's sometimes those pairs in the NFL that, when you think of Tom Brady, I still think of Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? I still think of it. I think when you think of Trevor Lawrence, you're going to think of Justin Fields just because of these epic showdowns. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch in the NFL for years to come. But I think that Justin Fields, the biggest thing going against him is just his inability. He doesn't handle pressure well. I said it before about last Friday. The one thing I was so shocked about was that Clemson did not try to pick the pressure up on him, but they couldn't because of the run game. And that's the one reason Clemson could not just send everything in the kitchen sink towards Justin Fields, because if they did, there goes Trey Sermon running right past him. Alabama, they're going to send that pressure. And I think that this is a huge test. I think there's a gap, Kev, but I think that if he has a similar performance, I don't need him to throw for 400 yards against Alabama, but he throws 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, I could forgive one pick. You're going up against these elite defenses. I have no problem with a pick. A pick is going to happen. It's hard to forgive picks against an Indiana and against Northwestern and teams like that who you should be significantly better than. But against an Alabama, Clemson, I could forgive interceptions, but he needs to have an elite level performance. For one, not just for his draft stock, but for the Buckeyes to win a national championship. They're not winning a national championship if he has an average game. I promise you that much. Hour 2 in the books. Hour 3 coming up. 6-25-1 is the record of Zac Taylor after 2 full years as head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. And apparently, Mike Brown feels that that's a confident building block for the Bengals moving forward. I'm going to tell you right now, they made a huge mistake. They made a huge mistake bringing back Zac Taylor. This isn't Kinner hating on the Bengals. This is actually me feeling sorry for the Bengals because I think the Bengals have talent that they can easily improve this team pretty quickly, and I think they set their team back by another 2 years, and I'll explain on the other side of the break. Hour 3 coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's no place like home for the holidays. And when it comes to home style, there's no place like Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 8-piece meal for only $19.99. Get the taste of home that's ready in a hurry with 8 mixed pieces of our famous recipe chicken, 2 large sides, and 4 fluffy biscuits. With Lee's, treating your family to a home-style meal is easier than ever. Get a sit-down meal made easy with our 8-piece meal for only $19.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need. You know what you would like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places, what you need and what you like might not happen. Well then, you haven't been to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet in Dayton. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really? Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 Mac Oil Street, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday 10 to 6, Saturday 10 to 4.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for a table at a restaurant.
Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, party... Oh, there you are.
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Michelle here, and I'm starting 2021 with a new skincare routine. Now, I'm a big fan of Olay Regenerist in the red jar, but this year, I'm using Olay's newest moisturizer, Collagen Peptide 24, in the white jar. It's fragrance-free, super hydrating, and packed with collagen peptide. Even has a money-back guarantee. Visibly firmer skin in 2 weeks or your money back. Find Olay Collagen Peptide 24 at your favorite retailer or Olay.com, and this week get $4 off. Money back via prepaid card. Must submit within 60 days of purchase. See Olay.com/guarantee.
Staples has everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organizational supplies, and all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start this year with big savings from Staples.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
right, everybody, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So, it's been a while since I can get to this. Look, I'm not trying to look. The thing is, I can't even believe I'm trying to give a disclaimer. The 2020 Kinner would have just laid into the Bengals without a disclaimer and just told you guys to get over it. But the one thing we got to learn is that if the Bengals were good, I would tell you that they're good, and then I wouldn't have to be labeled a hater. I'll never understand why people are so against being told the truth. Why are we so against? Like, it drives me nuts. When fans of bad teams get pissed because people tell them that their team is bad, I thought they knew. Like that, it drives me up the wall, Kev. I'm annoyed that I started to give a disclaimer there because I'm like, wait a minute, shut up, Kinner. You don't owe them anything. I don't owe Bengals fans nothing. If you're foolish enough to think that this team made the right decision by bringing back Zac Taylor, I feel bad for you. I really do. Because pay attention to what's going on around the league. I don't know why the Cincinnati Bengals fan base thinks that this organization deserves 2 to 3 years to get it together when every other team that hires the right coach sees immediate results. Why is it, Kev, that the Bengals live in this old, like decades ago it was, when you rebuild, Kev, you could even agree with this. I mean, you don't agree on anything. Decades ago, it used to be rebuild, you get 3 to 4 years to really start to see improvement, right? That's not the case anymore. Whether it's fair or not, whether it's right or wrong, it is not the case anymore. Adam Gase was fired a couple years after being hired. All right, Freddie Kitchens got 1 year. Hugh Jackson got a few years, and that's with the roster way worse than Cincinnati. Hugh Jackson deserved the benefit of the doubt after the trash that they gave him. They gave him a roster to go 0-16. Mm-hmm. Zac Taylor got a roster to win 8 to 9 games and couldn't do it. So I don't want to hear that. Okay, the New York Jets move on from Adam Gase. The Jaguars, of course, move on from Marrone. You look at the fact that that the Chargers move on from Anthony Lynn. The bottom line, you continue to go down the list of all the coaches that have been moved on from. It's because they lost. They couldn't get it done. All right, how come the Chargers didn't look at their situation with Justin Herbert and say, you know what? Let's give Anthony Lynn another shot. We saw progression with Justin Herbert because that's what people keep saying. Well, Joe Burrow showed promise under Zac Taylor. Justin Herbert looked better, and his coach is gone. So I don't want to hear that just because a quarterback produces under a head coach early that's why you should keep him. Here's the other problem. I don't sense any urgency by the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're in trouble, Kev. And this isn't a trolling segment. Hear me out on this. 6-25-1 are the Bengals under Zac Taylor. I don't know how much better they're going to be in 2021. All right, because here's the thing: they can improve their defense, they can improve their offense. Are they going to be? They're going to be last place again. Mm-hmm. Look at make fun of the Browns all you want. The Browns are who they are. The Browns made the playoffs this year. They won 11 games this year with one heck of an offense and a lousy defense. They have a lot of cap space. They don't have a whole lot of needs on offense, Kev. All of their attention is going to be given to the defensive side of the ball this year. The Browns won 11 games with a horrible defense. They're going to be better next year. Baker Mayfield's going to be another year older. This offense is going to be your number 2 under Stefanski. They're going to be another year into this, Kev. They're going to be better. Their defense is going to be better. Stefanski's better than Zac Taylor. So if the Browns are the third-place team in the division, the Bengals, no matter what they do this offseason, they're not passing them. They're not going to be better than the Ravens. The Steelers are going to take a step backwards because, we're starting to see the age kick in a little bit for Ben Roethlisberger. Who knows? This may be it for Ben Roethlisberger. We don't know. But even without Ben Roethlisberger, although the Bengals would have the better quarterback than the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's be clear. The Steelers are still better. From coaching, from ownership, from organization, to talent, overall talent on both sides of the ball. The Cincinnati Bengals are in trouble. So when you stick with Zac Taylor, that's a problem, Kev, because to act like there's not another coach out there that can come in and make an impact, that's bogus. Look what Cliff Kingsbury did in Arizona. Everyone thought they made the wrong decision going to get Cliff Kingsbury. Not only did they move on from their head coach, they moved on from their quarterback and Josh Rosen, who they had just drafted because they wanted to go in that different direction because they had a lot of confidence in him. Look at what Kevin Stefanski did in the very first year with the Cleveland Browns. All right. And then you look at some of the bad teams out there. All right. You're going to see the New York Jets go out and they're going to get one of the top young coaches out there. They're going to be instantly better. The Jaguars are going to be instantly better. Not only are the Bengals not going to be they're going to be a last place team again next year. And then what's the excuse going to be? You are wasting time. You have Joe Burrow. You have a quarterback. Bad teams there's good teams still looking for a quarterback, Kev. The Vikings are still looking for a quarterback that they think is going to be their franchise quarterback. The Falcons believe that they're looking for their next franchise quarterback. There are a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. The Bengals have one, and yet they're nowhere closer to being what they think they're going to be moving forward. They're not a playoff team in the near future. Like I said, Kevin, the Browns are the third best team in the AFC North this year, and they have a horrible defense. But that offense is locked in for the next 2 to 3 years. That Ravens team, that's built to sustain for at least another 2 to 3 years. The Steelers, even with losing Big Ben, the youth on the defense and the offensive side, yes, they're going to need to find a quarterback. They'll find one. They'll be fine. The Bengals are in trouble. They are in deep trouble. There's nothing that they're going to be able to do about it. And to me, it was lazy to keep Zac Taylor. It was absolute laziness. Eric Bieniemy was the route to go. Go get Eric Bieniemy. Pair him with Joe Burrow. I have no clue why they wouldn't even at least make an effort. Why would you announce when everyone else is firing their coaches the next day? I'm fine with it. Maybe eventually if they keep Zac Taylor because they couldn't find anyone else. But to sit there and announce it the next day, Eric Bieniemy is balls deep right now in a playoff run. Okay? He's focused on the playoffs. You haven't even spoken to him. Why? Why have you not tried to lure him to Cincinnati? Why? Why? You are the stupidest franchise in the world for not trying that. I can't even mentally grasp how dumb this organization is to bring back Zac Taylor, Kev. It doesn't make sense. This isn't even a trolling thing. I'm angry because they have Joe Burrow. The only thing about the Cincinnati Bengals that I like is Joe Burrow, and they're even screwing that up. Zac Taylor is not going to get it done. He has not got it done. He's won 6 games. And don't give me this, injury mess. I wasn't allowed to use COVID as an excuse for why the Browns lost to the Jets 2 weeks ago. But those same people that were ripping me for that are trying to tell me, injuries happen. No. Next man up mentality, right? Like that's the Bengal way, right? That's what they tried telling me. So the deal is, Kev, is this. I think that the Bengals, they have the most difficult thing to find is the quarterback. The second most difficult thing to find is the head coach to pair with them. This isn't the coach. The team took a step backwards. Star players demanded out. They wanted out. They regressed under Zac Taylor. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you not try for Eric Bieniemy? And someone on here is saying, well, do you think that they'd really go there? It doesn't matter. You try. And if you know that they're not going to go there, so you settle for Zac Taylor, that means you suck. That means you know you suck, and that means you know you're not going to get anybody else. I am not crapping on the Bengals to be typical Bengals hater Kinner. I am telling you the truth. It is a crap move on the organization's part to not even try for Eric Bieniemy. It would make so much sense. You have one of the hottest up-and-coming quarterbacks in the league, and you just do nothing? You keep him with the same head coach that's been there the last 2 years, that's won 6 total games in 2 years, and you expect me to buy in that this team's going to take that next step when the Browns will be better, the Ravens will be better, the Steelers, even with the step back, are still miles ahead of the Bengals as an organization. They will be last place again. Even if they win 7 games next year, Kev, they're still going to be in last place. I just don't get it. I'm sorry. I promise I wasn't going to get this fired up, but it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to have an NFL team an hour south from here. That's how embarrassed I am.
How many more games do they win if Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt?
I mean, they were losing games with them. I don't know. I mean, probably a few more. I'd give them a few more, but not enough to make me think that Zac Taylor was. I mean, that win over the Steelers, Kev. Come on, the Bengals run better than the Steelers. The Jets run better than the Browns. Like, you see those late season upsets all the time. But when I say I'm a hater, but anyone else out there, Brian Billick said it when we talked to him earlier, it just doesn't make sense to me, Kev. I just don't get it. I'm labeled a hater, but I feel like I'm the only one using common sense when it comes to this Bengals organization. They're not good. They haven't made enough right decisions to justify anyone telling me that I'm wrong for pointing out how wrong they are. About spill my water.
Don't spill it on the computer. Please. Whatever you do. So, I was like, how are they 4-11? They had that tie. I forgot about that good old tie. So I'm looking, Joe Burrow. I'm sorry, my computer's running slow. I'm trying to figure out which game did he get hurt. He got hurt.
It was against Washington.
Against the Washington football team. So they end up losing a 2-point loss to the Giants. End up losing to the Dolphins 19-7. They end up losing to the Cowboys 30-7. Beat the Steelers, beat the Texans, and got their doors blown off last week by the Baltimore Ravens. Out of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, out of that 4-game span versus Washington, the Dolphins, and Dallas, I think they probably give at least 2 of those if Joe Burrow plays.
So now you're 5'7" instead of 5'5". Right, still ain't tall.
Right. I'm just saying, like, the feeling going into that So let's just say, just for argument's sake, let's say they beat the Giants and the Cowboys. It's just speculate and say that they beat the Giants and the Cowboys, and they still have beat the Steelers and the Texans and still lost to them. So that six wins doesn't make you feel a little different as a Bengal fan, or it just makes you feel exactly the same?
They didn't win 6 games though, and we don't know that they would have won those. They lost. Let me change my tone because I'm not trying to argue with you here. I don't have confidence that they would have won those games. They had a 21-point lead over the Colts and lost.
That's the one that hurts.
I mean, let's be clear. Zac Taylor left wins on the table when Joe Burrow was healthy. How many they had 6 or 7 or 6 one-possession games with Joe Burrow? They lost all of them.
So do you think they're better than they were last year?
They're not. They have to be better than last year because they actually have a quarterback now. But I don't think that that's because of Zac Taylor. That's just because Zac Taylor and the Bengals were so bad his first year that's why they were even in position to get the quarterback that automatically made them better. Joe Burrow's the real deal. It's just ridiculous. So here's their 2021 opponents, Kev. Your divisional opponents, okay, whatever. But the Packers, that's a loss. The Chiefs, that's a loss. The Vikings, it's a toss-em. I'm going with the Vikings in that. The Chargers, year 2 of Justin Herbert. They're going to go out and get a better head coach. They have more weapons. They're better equipped with. That's a loss. All right, they'll beat Urban Meyer's Jaguars. The Bears. Who knows what they get at quarterback, but with that defense, assuming they go get anyone who even looks like they know how to throw a ball, that's a loss for the Bengals. They'll beat the Broncos. They should beat the Broncos. Right? They should beat the Lions next year. The Raiders, probably a loss. All right. The Jets, that's a win. So I'm looking at maybe 4 or 5 wins next year. I'm not looking at this team improving that much. They'll split with the Browns probably. They'll sneak. They'll get at least one against the Steelers and the Ravens. They'll sneak one of those, not one against each, Kev. I just mean like of the 4 matchups with the Steelers and the Ravens, they'll get one of those 4 games. They'll get one of those 4 against one of those. So there's a win there. So they'll get 2 wins in the division next year. So there's 2. They'll beat the Broncos. They'll beat the Lions. I'll give them the Jets and the Jaguars. That's 6 wins. And let's say that they beat. Okay, you give them the Bears. Okay, cool. You're at 7. Even at 8, you're still in last place. So that's why I was adamant about going to get Bieniemy, put this team in position to attack moving forward. I'm not confident Zac Taylor can do that. And the reason is because he hasn't. That's all. And everyone said, oh, he looks good under Zac Taylor. Well, the Chargers just moved on from their coach, and Justin Herbert looked better. So I don't know what you want me to say to that. I'm not pulling for the Bengals to fail. I'm pulling for Joe Burrow to succeed. That's all. And I just think that, look, the bottom line is that the Chargers and the Jets and the Jaguars and the Falcons, these are all teams moving on to find a new head coach. Watch how many of those teams a new coach makes an automatic difference. Like we don't, so that's why I brought up the rebuilding question earlier, Kev, about that is we just don't see rebuilds take that long anymore. Rebuilds, you're not winning a Super Bowl from one bad year to the next, but you are improving your roster and win total drastically, and the Bengals aren't doing that.
I want you to rank these when we get back. Best job out there. Texans with Deshaun, Chargers with Herbert, Jets got the number 2 pick, Jags got the number 1 pick, Lions got the number 7 pick, and the Atlanta Falcons have the number 4 pick. I want you to rank those when we get back.
All right, fair enough. We'll be back in a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. Next, Bengals fans, we'll open up the phone, 457-9464. Am I way off base here? Like, let's be clear. The Bengals are a last place team again next year. They're not going to be better than the Browns, Ravens, or Steelers. They're just not. And they're not a playoff team. They're not. So Zac Taylor's back for year 3. They're only going to win, let's say, 6 or 7 games if I'm being nice, and not going to make the playoffs again. I'm sorry. It's just the wrong decision. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and breezy, a high near 36. Tonight's also going to be cloudy, a low around 28. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 38. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español? Hablo. It's hablo? It's hablo.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in Babbel to our real life situations.
The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
What's in store this week at Staples?
A great start to the new year.
Give your business a head start on the year with everything you need to be organized and productive.
Like storage solutions, the latest tech, and office essentials like paper and ink, all at amazing prices.
And now at Staples, earn 40% back in rewards when you buy any 2 ink or toner cartridges. Shop in store or pick up curbside.
Start the year right and save at Staples. Ends 1/9/21. Limit 4. Curbside available in most stores. Visit staples.com/40 and rewards for details. That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Buying some pretzel sticks?
Excuse me?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless.
Okay.
What if you didn't eat all those pretzel sticks by the end of the month, so this store took them back?
Good luck.
That's how some wireless companies are with your data, but TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited carryover data with active service, so you keep what you pay for. Plans start at $20 a month.
Wow, that's cool.
Sir, are you bothering the customers?
Yeah, hang on.
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
Available at major retailers. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Allstate now has deeper savings, and deeper savings require deep thoughts and a deep voice, like mine. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise, and save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. As someone once said, saving today is money tomorrow. That's deep.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Call It Propane has been serving the Buckeye Nation in the Miami Valley for over 65 years.
Let our family help protect your family from old man winter. Find out why 98% of our customers would recommend us to friends and family. Ask about the service options at 937-372-9194.
Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Call It Propane and Call It Seal Coating are proud to serve the Buckeye Nation.
Now's the time to finish what you started by completing your degree at Ohio Dominican University.
It's not easy to always get to the finish line, but the only way you're going to get is you got to keep moving. Just kept putting one foot in front of the other. There was no quit. I was not going to give up.
Pursue your bachelor's degree in high-demand fields such as business, risk management, and more. Classes start soon. Get started at ohiodominican.edu/adult.
2020 has been a hard-hitting year for all of us, but specifically for our veterans. Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission will be holding a new winter coat giveaway for all qualifying veterans on Friday, January the 15th at the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, located at 627 Edwin C. Moses Boulevard, 4th floor, East Medical Plaza. For coat qualifying requirements, go to mcvsc.org or call 937-225-4801.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Need legal help? Come see us. The Montgomery County Clerk of Courts has partnered with organizations across the community to launch its new help center. Allow one of our dedicated staff the chance to inform you with legal information, self-help tools, forms, and guides, and referrals to social or legal professionals. We're here to help. Visit courthouse2u.com to learn more. Come down and see us. Brought to you by Clerk of Courts Mike Foley.
Baconate in the AM with a Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Yep, all that bacon with a fresh crack egg. Try one yourself this AM. Free with any breakfast purchase offer in the app. Always be baconating.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Good luck. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kevin, you gave me 6 teams to rank how'd you word it? The best job, or the best opening, to rank the best openings right now in the NFL. If you're just tuning in, I unloaded on the Cincinnati Bengals because you have Joe Burrow, and you're very fortunate and lucky to have Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is as good as any quarterback in the league, on pace to be right now. After that rookie season, even though it was shortened due to having a season-ending injury because, of course, no protection up front, but that's besides the point. 11 weeks, week 11, his season comes to an end. His rookie season comes to an end. You get 4 years of a rookie quarterback under a very good contract that is going to give you financial flexibility to go out and spend on elite talent to put around him. Look what the Browns did with Baker Mayfield. I think it's paid off, all right? They screwed up on the head coach last year. The Browns' big mistake last year, it wasn't OBJ. It wasn't spending money on talent that wasn't any good. They spent money on talent that didn't have the right coaches to push the right buttons, and that's why the Browns imploded last year. They get an adult as a head coach this year, and look what happens. They win 11 games, and they're in the playoffs. So, yes, the coaching matters. Zac Taylor is not it. Doug Toby on Facebook says, Joe Burrow had some say in Zac Taylor coming back. That offense was clicking with Joe Burrow. If you don't believe that, you're a fool of yourself. Listen, the offense was clicking. I don't necessarily agree with that completely. Let me ask you this, Kev. Was the Dallas Cowboys offense clicking with Dak Prescott? What was the big knock against the Cowboys? Of his numbers were inflated, and why?
No defense.
No defense, and he was behind in all the games, and he was throwing a lot. That was Joe Burrow. That was our biggest stock on Joe Burrow, not necessarily him, Zac Taylor. You don't have a good offensive line, but you were dropping Joe Burrow back 35-plus times a game. And why were you doing that? Because you couldn't hand it off because you're down in every game. So I don't think the offense was clicking. Now, the defense wasn't doing themselves any favors, but I'm not going to sit here and say the offense was clicking. Joe Mixon, where's he at, by the way? Hurt. Yeah, hurt, as always. Another bad contract, another bad decision from the front office, but that's an argument and a conversation for later. So the point is, you asked me to rank these jobs, and we're going to get to the calls in a second. So you asked what the Texans, the Jaguars, the Chargers, the Jets, the Lions, and the Falcons. Those are all the jobs that are open. Doug Toby also said a little bit ago about Bieniemy, saying that Bieniemy, he's going to go to Houston for $9 million. Then pay him $10 million. You want to win, right? Zac Taylor's getting $5 million. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. If you want to win, pay a legit head coach. If you want to just have someone fill the vacancy for a cheaper rate, then Zac Taylor's your guy. The Texans, Jags, Chargers, Jets, Lions, Falcons, to rank those jobs right there. If you're a head coach, I'm picking the Jags as number 1 overall. That's the number 1 overall. For one, they have $70 million in cap space, Kev, and the number 1 overall pick. And you could say, oh, that's a scary place because they have holes all over the place. Yes, you have holes all over the place with $70 million in cap space in the number 1 overall pick. So you basically have your quarterback, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, and I think we all know it's Trevor Lawrence. And it sounds like they're going to go get their coach in Urban Meyer, who reports are saying they're willing to pay him $12 million. Gee, they're going to pay him more than double what the team an hour south from here is paying their coach. And I wonder what kind of results they're going to get. They're going to get good ones.
Money in the bank.
So the Jaguars, because of the situation they're in, I probably wouldn't have said the Jaguars 2 years ago, maybe not even a year ago, but because now they have the number 1 overall pick and $70 million in cap space and an owner that's willing to spend money, to me, that makes the Jaguars the most attractive job that is open right now. And by the way, if it wasn't, Urban Meyer's name wouldn't be in the mix. Urban Meyer's not going to go to a bum organization. So you know what I mean? The Jags have to be in the clear. I have the Falcons coming in at number 2, Kev. Now, they don't have anything sexy around it. For one, you still technically have Matt Ryan. You're not totally in the dumps as far as that goes. He does have a bad contract, but I'm going to trust ownership. They, of all the teams after the Jaguars, the best ownership in this group right here, Kev, the Falcons. That's why I have to put them at number 2, ranking them. Of all the teams that are on this list right now, ownership-wise, the only ownership group I trust to kind of get their team, through this rebuild is going to be the Falcons. I trust their ownership. So I put them at number 2. Number 3, the Chargers. You have a quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have talent on both sides of the ball. You have explosiveness on the offensive side. You have Joey Bosa on the defensive side, and Keenan Allen and a lot of these explosive offensive pieces. I'm all for the Chargers. I think that's an attractive job. Bieniemy would fit in well there, and he's going to have flexibility with weapons on both sides. I have the Chargers at number 3. At this point, I think that the Texans, Jets, and Lions are all garbage. However, I'm going to put the Texans at number 4 just because they have Deshaun Watson. The thing working against Deshaun Watson is he is the second highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. The problem with that is he's just one of a few horrible contracts that hurt them cap space wise. And I don't see a coach or a GM out there that is going to come and dig them out of this rubble anytime soon. So I have them at the bottom. And then the Jets and the Lions, they're interchangeable. They're both garbage. They're both bad. I think the Jets are going to have more money that they're willing to spend to kind of dig themselves out. I think that they're panicking. I think the Jets could possibly dig themselves out before the Lions can. But I have no clue who the Lions are. I don't know what their identity is. I don't know who they even want to be. They want to win. Every team wants to win, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know what they don't know who they want to be. And that's why I have them at the bottom. And if Cincinnati was in this group, I'd have them down there at the bottom with the Jets and the Lions. I wouldn't have them as the worst, but I would put them – the Lions are the worst organization in football, no questions asked. I'm not even going to have that conversation. The Browns have a horrible organization. They've had one good year. This year doesn't make the Browns a good organization, Kev. The Browns have – you know what I mean? I'm not a hypocrite. The Browns are one of the worst organizations in football. I'm not going to the Haslams. I'm not going to say that they've gotten bailed out. All right. Kevin Stefanski is a hell of a hire. All right. And I love what they did with their GM. I love the guys that they brought in there. But one good year does not erase all the mistakes that organization made, Kev. So the Browns are still a joke of an organization as well. It's going to take years of winning and playoff appearances and some wins for me to sit there and say that the Browns are out of that bad ownership group, So the Browns are down at the bottom of this too if they were in need of a quarterback or in need of a new coach. So there's that. Thoughts on those rankings?
I actually had the Chargers number 1. I'm going to use one of your lines. They have a young quarterback on their rookie deal. They have a lot of weapons that are already locked up for a couple years, and they have defensive talent. I think this is a situation where you can come in as I don't want to say young, witty mind offensive coordinator, but maybe you go for one of these retreads because you did try a first time head coach in Anthony Lynn and it didn't work. So maybe this is where you try one of your retread coaches that come in with that strong discipline style and take you over the top, get you back into the playoffs, because I think the Chargers are set up to win big for the next couple of years with Herbert. At 2, I got Jacksonville, basically for the same reasons you do. They have the number 1 pick. They got a lot of salary cap space. They got a new owner that's looking to spend some big bucks in to get back into the playoffs. So I got them at 2. At 3, I got the Atlanta Falcons, much like you said. They're not bare bones. Like, you got some guys. You got Julio Jones, for goodness sake. You got Matt Ryan, who's a former MVP. I may not be the biggest Matt Ryan fan, but he's no scrub. But you can work with it. You can do a situation where you maybe draft a quarterback in the 3rd round and see if they can play. And if they can play, you go ahead and say, Matt Ryan, you're on the bench. And if he can't play, Matt Ryan, you're my guy. Do one of those type of numbers. At 4, I got the Houston Texans simply because of Deshaun Watson. His contract is enormous, but he's rated as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're terrible everywhere else besides him. And the salary cap is the reason there wouldn't be number 2. If the salary cap situation was better, they would be number 2.
I'd have number 2. Number 1, when you have I like when you said the Chargers because they have a quarterback. The Jags basically have their quarterback. They have Trevor Lawrence, but again, we have to see it. We know right. Justin Herbert. I mean, is Trevor Lawrence? Justin Herbert was the best rookie quarterback this year. I don't care. I'm not trying to get into the Joe Burrow discussion. Justin Herbert was the most impressive rookie quarterback this year. Joe Burrow was impressive. Justin Herbert was just better, and not by much. He was just better. All right, yeah. So my thing is Trevor Lawrence. That's a lot. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is coming in. You have to be better than Justin Herbert to be the guy. I'm really interested. The reason I have the Falcons at number 2 as well is because I think that there's a good chance they end up with Justin Fields. And if you have an explosive quarterback like that, if you have a quarterback like Justin Fields with that arm and athletic ability with Julio Jones and that offensive line,
I think they're going, if they move on, if they pull a full rebuild, I think they're going to say goodbye to Julio and Matty Ice.
Possibly, but they have a lot of
But they still got Calvin Ridley and another wide receiver. So they'll be fine. I'm just saying, like, you know, those staple names from their Super Bowl run, I don't think they're going to be there if they pull the Justin Fields move.
So and you're right, because, you know, Julio Jones is going to get a lot of in return. The wide receivers, there's a lot of wide receivers out there. Wide receiver stock is built over the last couple of years. Or not stock, but talent. There's depth, I should say. So the stock, like there's not a lot of stock in those. You're not going to get a lot in return for those like you used to.
Dial up Houston, they seem to give away draft picks.
Yeah, gave away receivers too.
Like you need to give Deshaun a big time receiver.
All right, 457-9464. We got Rick. Rick, thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, first of all, I'm a Bengal fan.
Okay.
And I would have been disappointed if they let go Taylor. But since they didn't, I'm hoping that maybe he learned something once Burrow went down.
I agree.
Coaching those last few games, because he had to change his style of coaching, you know, because he didn't have a quarterback he could count on now. So now he had to count on other things. And if he would have started the season on counting on his other players, I don't think Burrow would have maybe ever got hurt, and it would have been a totally different season. So I'm hoping going forward, maybe he learns something those last few games and brings that into his coaching next year.
You know, that's a good point. You kind of, you know, his eyes opening up a little bit, and I hope so. But and it's not all on Zac Taylor. Let's be clear. The Bengals spent a lot of money on Joe Mixon, but Zac Taylor didn't hardly use Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's been out a while. But I was amazed at how you have that type of running back, but you weren't getting that production from your running back after all the money you paid him. But yeah, my biggest thing, Rick, and most Bengals fans don't like me because I go in a little too hard on the Bengals. But
I don't have no problem with that.
It's frustrating because Joe Burrow, you dropped him back 35 times a game when you had no offensive line, and then everyone's like, I can't believe he got hurt. I can. I was calling it since before the season started that he wasn't going to survive the year, and I'm not happy that I was right because I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I'm not a Bengals fan, Rick. I'm a Joe Burrow fan, though, right. And that's why I get so frustrated when I don't see them doing the right things to win with him, because if the freaking Cleveland Browns can find a way to win with Baker Mayfield, Rick, the Cincinnati Bengals better figure out a way with Joe Burrow, because I think the ceiling's higher for Joe Burrow than Baker Mayfield.
I think the problem was Taylor thought maybe Burrow was Superman right out of the gate, you know, and you know
he lived up to it. To be fair, right?
You know, and he was expecting, he was trying to get everything out of Burrow, you know, and wasn't counting on nobody else. And one other quick point: Mike Brown has always been loyal to his coaches, so it's not surprising that he didn't let Taylor go.
Fair enough. Hey, Rick, normally we'd talk longer. We just we got to hit this break, man. I appreciate it.
I understand. Thanks for talking to me tonight.
Anytime. Take care. All right, 457-9464. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Let me give you this list real quick, Kev. Bill Belichick, the highest paid head coach in the NFL at $12 million, which is interesting because Urban Meyer would come in as the tied for this, you know, highest paid coach in the NFL. Urban Meyer's never coached in the NFL. Bill Belichick is worth the $12 million. Pete Carroll, $11 million. All right. Sean Payton, $9.8 million. John Harbaugh, $9 million. All right. Sean McVay, $8.5 million. Mike Tomlin, $8 million. All right. Andy Reid, $8 million. You want a winner? Pay one. You think if Eric Bieniemy is the guy, and we had a Bengals fan and you know, a little bit ago, Doug Toby said, oh, well, he's going to go to Houston because they're going to pay him $9 million. Then pay him 10. Pay him 10. Mike Brown's all about overpaying guys. Overpay Eric Bieniemy, who I think would deserve it, and who would do great things with Joe Burrow in that offense, and would actually have enough wherewithal to be able to coach and put the right pieces in place to coach the defense as well. Because what Eric Bieniemy brings to the table, Kev, is not just his offensive play calling and his mindset. It's the connections he has. He's an adult in the league. He has connections. He's going to be able to bring some key defensive pieces with him. Now, I'm saying all this as if this is going to change. It's not. The Cincinnati Bengals were cheap. You are what you pay for, and you're a loser. Bottom line. 6-25-1, and Mike Brown is confident in the direction that they're heading. Moron. All right, folks. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Liberty.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now apply 2 pounds of force for acceleration.
You really
turning in 0.3 miles and begin deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles, base coverages only. Availability varies.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it with new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
Without more licensed workers, Gary's roofing business might hit its ceiling.
Hey, that new contract just got pushed up. We are going to need all hands on deck to make this happen.
Hey, Gary, you booked me on that other job next week.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out. Because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody